episode 65 of I Know What You Watched Last Week, out of Halloween season, into Guy Fawkes season. And you know, now that I think about it, Guy Fawkes, not a bad guy at all.
How did I know that was coming? You were such a silly.
Some of his ideas were bad, but not all of his ideas were bad.
Right. So...
And like I say, now that I think about it, not a bad guy at all. Yeah. So this episode 65. Now look, you were about to talk then, weren't you?
I was about to
But
talk.
a little bit about me. I had one imported beer, right? Because I don't drink, domestic swill.
You don't support your own country.
Well, that's not true, because I do have Camden Hell's Pale Ale and Lager. But, yeah, I had one imported beer from Japan via Rome. And then because I like everything I like imported, then some Louisiana Bayou Rum Company Satsuma rum liqueur.
So if you
with barrel smoked cola, not your regular. I need my cola barrel smoked.
So if you hadn't gathered by now, this channel both reviews horror movies and also explains to you exactly what Jonathan has been drinking.
I wasn't finished, right? Also, I was like, I'm going to get up today, what am I going to do?
So
right,
rude.
We're going to do I Know What You Watched Last Week. What am I going to do before then? I'm going to put on Van Halen, both David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar, because it both rocks. So it's kind of like between that, and also I've been playing some jazz flute, and once I start playing jazz flute, I like to continue playing jazz flute. Yeah? So it's quite a miracle that I'm even here between Van Halen and the imported goods and jazz flute.
Well, moving on with the horror movie
so you're
portion
welcome.
Of our review.
I'm here.
And everyone is very grateful, I'm sure. Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
John Cain, saviour of rock and roll, saviour of comedy and horror movies.
For a week with 3 very new horror releases. And by very new, I mean within the last few years.
2023 and 2 from last year.
Yeah, that's very new
so
as far as I'm
what did we
concerned.
watch?
We started the week with one that I've been kind of intrigued to watch. Late Night with the Devil.
I didn't know that was intriguing you. You knew it was intriguing me. I did not know it was Kismet.
I'm interested in most of the big new ones, just to see what they have to say or what they're doing.
Yeah, not interested in little ones either.
Then we watched what I think must be a little one, unless you're about to tell me it was some major thing and I just missed it. We saw Oddity.
For my peeps.
Oh, yeah, your Irish roots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we saw, not the one that I was going to put with it. What did we watch again?
Heretic.
Oh, it was Heretic. I was about to say I wanted to watch... Okay. There you go. I'm not even going to cut that out. We watched Heretic third.
I have no idea what order you're going to put these in. I do have a slight inkling what might be your number one. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. So what is your ranking of these?
Okay, without going into further explanation yet. Bottom place is Late Night with the Devil. Second place is Heretic. And first place goes to Oddity. The only one that I hadn't heard of before.
You had heard of it, because I did remind you that when we were doing a live stream with the Monster Fam, I believe that Rainbow Fright was hosting, and at the end she asked the question, what kind of new moves are you looking forward to? And I didn't have any in 2025 this year still, but I said I'm looking forward to looking at Oddity. So you had heard it mentioned before.
So this was one that you didn't just randomly pick, you're actually intrigued to watch this.
Yeah, I knew what it was. I hadn't read anything really much about it, but I knew it was around for a couple of years, yeah.
Well, not stick in my brain. But anyway, do you have different rankings?
I do have different rankings, yeah.
How dare you?
Third place, Heretic.
Mm-hmm.
Second place, Late Night with the Devil. And first place, no bias to the Irish roots, but Oddity, straight in at number 1. And I've got to say, for a bunch of modern movies, I didn't dislike any of them. I wasn't disliking Heretic, even though it was in bottom place.
I'm going to say it really irked me for
Some,
a certain reason.
I mean,
really
look, you're not going to
me.
go through, and I know we watched last week about some irksome, behind the sceens footage, right?
I mean,
Front
do you
of
want
the
to go
lens
straight
footage, should I
into
say.
the one that irked me?
No, we're going to go, as usual, by my rankings, and in third place, Heretic, which was your second place.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so, do you want to start?
First of all, I was really looking forward to seeing Hugh Grant.
Well, everybody was, yeah.
I was very intrigued because, obviously, we know him, or I certainly know him from the late 90s, early noughties rom-com type thing.
Well, there you go. You say that's what you know him from. I don't, but shock horror. Unless that one that your dad makes us watch at Christmas, does that have Hugh Grant in it?
Yeah, he's in that.
Is he in that? Okay, so what movie is that again?
Love Actually.
Love Actually. Love Actually, not even close to the worst film I've ever seen either. Way better than Scream 5.
It's problematic. But anyway.
So he's in that. Right, okay, understood. I'm trying to think of what I knew him from movie-wise, and I just can't think of anything. Also, isn't he
He did that one with Julia Roberts, Notting Hill, I think it was.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Was that Julia Roberts? I think.
Unless your dad makes us watch that.
But basically he was... Oh, and he did Bridget Jones, of course.
I haven't seen...
You haven't seen Bridget
No,
Jones?
I haven't
shocking.
seen... My mum had it on VHS.
That would have been the first thing I thought you would have
used to see it there. I was like, there's no chance I'm watching that. Yeah.
But yeah, no, so he's always played... I mean, sometimes he plays a nice romantic character, and in Bridget Jones he plays a bit of a sleazy one, but he's always been very similar. But then I saw him in, of all things, Paddington, and I thought he did quite a good job. And I was like, oh, that's
What,
a
does
bit
he
of a
voice
slightly...
Paddington or something?
No, he's a character in one of the movies. I
But
don't even
as
remember
himself?
which one. No.
No, is it not animated? That?
No, the live action ones.
So only the bear is animated. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I was now just like, I really, really want to see what he does when he's a bit older. He's broken free of his English stud
muffin.
Time.
Are you saying that he's done a Matthew McConaughey by... I don't know if Hugh Grant sacked his agent to get into Heretic, but Matthew McConaughey was always doing his movies where he's leaning against
I know
women's
exactly
backs.
what you mean.
And all of a sudden he turns up in like Killer Joe, which was about the coolest movie he's ever done.
So I was wondering whether, Hugh Grant would be the same kind of actor as Matthew McConaughey. Turns out Matthew McConaughey, in my opinion, is superior.
That's because he's off the wall, man.
I didn't find any problem with Hugh Grant's performance in this.
You're just getting straight into Hugh Grant's performance.
Yeah.
Right, I was going to bring that a bit later. I was going to bring that in once he comes in.
Well,
because,
let me finish it now.
Yeah.
So
it's not finished, because I'm going to bring it back.
There were a lot of mannerisms and stuff that he just kept. It was the same. He did a good job at the character he chose to do, but I just felt like it could have been done slightly more interestingly.
We'll circle back to Hugh Grant. When the movie opens, you got two girls, and they're talking about, well, at least one of them is, Sister Paxton, is talking about condom sizes, penis sizes, pornography, and it goes on for a while, and they try to put things of like, magnum-sized condoms, and elephant trunk penises, and it tells a story about she was watching pornography, and during the scene, the lady was moaning, and from the room next door, because of all the loud noise, they started banging on the wall, and the lady who was in the scene mouthed apparently, thank God, and that's what made Sister Paxton believe in God.
Yeah, I wasn't really following along with that story when she was telling me. I was like, wait,
my
what?
main, again, they try to make a female McLovin from Superbad, again, where you just open up and there's this girl talking somewhat supposedly comically about sex, and it goes on for a while, and it just straight away put me not in the mood for horror.
I can see that.
Yeah. Why do they always feel you have to make this funny, quirky female McLovin in all horror movies these days?
It just... I didn't really get that feeling from it, but I agree that the actual words that the writer chose felt quite clunky and it made it more like, oh, this is supposed to be funny rather than... Cause
well, it is supposed to be funny.
But the subject matter itself...
But it's not.
It's supposed to be, but it's not. The subject matter itself, I can totally accept that girls at that age that, are going to talk about.
Oh, that's not what I was getting at all.
But it's the way they talk about it that it takes it out from, instead of being oh, this is like a realistic moment into getting to know these two girls in a just completely unfiltered, regular moment. It's now just like, huh, look at these girls, they're supposed to be religious and they're talking about condoms and massive penises.
I say it turns out they're religious converters, Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not entirely sure, but from my experience, Jehovah's Witnesses that come knocking on my door, they're not 20 years old.
Yeah, were they even 20? They looked really young.
Really young, or whatever, yeah, 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever. Is that thing, do you know that in the Jehovah's Witnesses, do all ages go around knocking at doors?
I don't know. I assume so. I mean, you know, the ones in the South Park thing, they're supposed to be youngish.
No, I've always seen like as at least 25, 26, something like that.
I would still consider that young.
But these girls, like you said, they're about 17, possibly 17, 18 years old.
I think they do mention at some point in the film, and I think you're right, it is early 20s. But
and I'm just talking about from real life experience. I couldn't relate to it.
You couldn't relate?
What is that?
You couldn't relate?
Tribe Called Quest, electric relaxation. But yeah, I couldn't relate because in my real life, I've been courted very recently, most recently for the past, couple of years by Jehovah's Witnesses. They just won't let go. For some reason, they want me to bring me into their church.
Funniest is that they'll knock, and if you answer, they'll talk your ear off. If I answer, they're like, is John home?
Yeah, they don't want to convert you.
Either they think, you know, I'm beyond saving, or they just look at me and think, yeah, she's a Jehovah.
Yeah, so I'm looking for more of a Sister Paxton and other sisters to kind of like knock at the door then.
I was going to say, I reckon you'd have a lot more success with a lot of people having those two knock at your door as opposed to some others.
Yeah, Sister Barnes. And yeah, so that's how we begin. We're in front of religious converters. And before we get into the whole Hugh Grant thing, the last thing we see is them walking, saying they're going to go and convert somebody, because Sister Paxton's apparently never converted anybody, right? And as they're walking, they're stopped in a parking lot, and these kind of like chavs, these four chavs, ask for their photos because they seem to recognise them, and it's just all a big ruse because they end up putting Sister Paxton's pants down, and then she's very upset because she thought that they were famous for some reason because they're Jehovah's Witnesses. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I'm sure that was exactly what it was. There was a weird moment just before that happened, though, when the two sisters see that group of... And actually, were they not the ones who were fannying about taking, like, selfies on the crossing of the road, I thought?
Probably.
And then they get beeped at. And anyway, Sister Paxton's like, oh my god, I love those girls already. I was like, why? They seem really vacuous and annoying. But anyway, so yeah, it was even more hurtful to her when they put her skirt down.
Yeah,
I would rather hang out with Sister Paxton than
Sister Paxton
those kids.
is then crying, and they're walking with their bikes, riding bikes, and they end up at what I've called Foliage House. There's a house full of greenery, and they knock on the door. Not Sister Paxton, but Sister Barnes says to Paxton, "Let's get you a baptism," number one. And who opens the door after quite a while? Mr. Hugh Grant. We've already gone through what you know him from and what I possibly know him from.
Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned, I don't really watch Hugh Grant movies, apart from one that your dad made us watch. And what I know him from is just being tabloid fodder. When I was a youngster, I remember him being on the front page of, like, I don't know, The Sun or something like this. It's like his mugshot, because he was going out with the wonderful Liz Hurley at the time. And he decided to stray somewhat illegally. And it just burnt into my memory because it was just everywhere. Like Hugh Grant's face on the news, on the newspapers, of just him kind of like still wryly smiling. I've been caught with a lady of the night kind of thing. So that is mainly what I know him from. So when he opened the door...
I was not reading tabloids at that point in my life.
I wasn't reading, I just saw the front page. And from the kind of the shtick that I know from seeing him in like advertisements and stuff, he begins, just very Hugh Grant, isn't it? It's just very Hugh Grant, like you said. And yeah,
which is fine,
so you kind of know, you do know because of that there is going to be some kind of change, and there is some slight change. It's just that he's still Hugh Grant. So he invites them in, but they also mention that he can't come in unless there's a female companion of his, right? His wife. Even though they're being absolutely drenched in the rain outside, by the way, and it soon turns into a snowstorm as well, so I can only imagine how cold it is. Yeah, so he invites them in, and they're sitting down in the living room, and Hugh Grant returns. Mr. Reed, his name is, Hugh Grant's character. I'll probably just be calling Hugh Grant throughout the movie, the review. And Hugh Grant returns to some drinks and a candle. He just believes bringing the candle out because it's like, the lights don't seem to be on in the house too much. So straight away I thought, oh, the drinks have been spiked. That's the first thing they're going to do. But it wasn't, and it was actually the candle, because he says that his wife is baking blueberry pie, right?
Yeah, so the reason she hasn't come out to say hello yet is because she's shy and she's baking pie. But he assures them that she's there, that she will come out eventually, and why don't they, inform him on religious things that they're here to talk about, which of course is kind of baiting, because as long as you're convinced, like, you're not expecting people to lie to you. So if he's telling you his wife is out there baking and she's too busy to say hello,
I need, visual evidence.
Yeah. Then, well, also, I don't think in this case having a wife would have stopped anything from happening. But anyway, they're just so keen to share the word that
The good word.
that they can ignore the fact that the wife is not currently in the room, but merely, take his word for the fact that she will join them. And then it's not long into the conversation, I think, that we notice that Mr. Reed is clearly very interested in religion for whatever reason.
Yeah. There's also a joke about Lou Gehrig's disease.
Blueberry disease.
Yeah, blueberry disease. But
Yeah,
does Lou Gehrig sound like blueberries?
I don't know, but was it Sister...
Paxton.
No, the other sister with the dark hair.
Yeah, the other one, not Sister
Not
Paxton,
Sister Paxton.
Sister Barnes.
Barnes, and it was B something. So Sister Barnes reveals that her dad passed away, and so Mr. Reed is like, oh, tell me more, which is kind of weird, isn't it? And she mumbles Lou Gehrig's disease, and apparently Mr. Reed thinks she's joking. He's like, oh, blueberry disease, yes, well, who wouldn't want to have that? Just felt really out of place.
Plus, Lou Gehrig's doesn't sound like blueberries. Right, not to me anyway.
But also, do you think that, for example, Sister Barnes' father having passed away has really any impact on the story?
Well, that's why she's a rebel. She's got the black hair. She's the streetwise one.
I think she's just naturally got black hair, though, Jonny.
No, you got to read
And
into
she doesn't
everything.
seem that
You got to read
streetwise.
into everything.
She's the one who's very, it's very much shot. She's the main girl. She's very still. You get lots of close-ups of her expression.
You just said still and close-ups. In my head when we were watching this, I was like, she's quite Renee-ish. She's like a young Renee in Heathen, because I said that Renee can appear as anything. And I was like, she has the stoicism.
Yeah, she
that
had
kind of
the
thing.
stillness, and Sister Paxton was the side character who's, the opposite, full of sort of energy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
McLovin energy. So Hugh Grant brings out the Book of Mormon.
Full of notes and annotations.
It seems like he knows this book inside out. So
which makes Sister Paxton very happy. She's like, oh my God, sir, we should be learning from you.
Shouldn't be that happy. He starts asking, he's in terms of tables, and straight away he wants to ask them what he calls an awkward question. What do they feel about polygamy?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, we didn't mention as well, the first thing he asks them actually once they've come inside is, are you okay with the fact that there's metal in the wall and ceiling? Which obviously they're like, oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, because what the hell does that mean?
I would wonder, though, if someone asked me that question specifically, I'd be like, well, should I have a problem with it? Because I don't know what they mean by that.
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah, he has a good Book of Mormon, knows it inside out. Awkward question, how do you feel about polygamy?
Polygamy.
Yeah. How do they feel? Is there like a modern feminist comeback at this point?
Well, Sister Barnes does attempt to explain it, and she was saying that, because also Mr. Reed points out the fact that this has changed, that it was kind of part of the religion up to a certain point, and then a new prophet or some, basically changed it and said, actually no, we shouldn't be polygamous. And he's, baiting them, trying to get them to answer this question. Sister Barnes does say that it wasn't necessarily that faith had to change to make it popular. She's suggesting something along the lines of, at the time when polygamy was a thing, we needed population, so it made sense, whereas now that's not an issue anymore. So it's changed.
So is Elon Musk a Jehovah's Witness? Because he thinks that we need to get populating the earth.
What a dum-dum. I totally disagree. Yeah, I don't know, but I just found this already interesting because clearly this film deals with religion. It's like the basis of the whole story.
Sister Barnes' sort of defence of the polygamy thing, not like a straight up defence, but there is still, defensive parts there. Is that her doing what Hugh Grant, Mr. Reed says is happening? You're just spouting what you've been told since, birth essentially, and you're just repeating it without really even thinking.
Well, this is the thing. So obviously, we know that we're supposed to root for the sisters. They're the main girls. They're the ones who are going to be put in danger. And therefore, you would expect that we're supposed to agree with what they say as well. And it's supposed to be... I would have assumed that they were saying that Sister Barnes had come up with this by herself because she's smart and she questions things, thinks about stuff. But I was still kind of struggling, which I liked, actually, to know what the filmmaker's stance was. Because I feel like equally...
Do you think they have a stance?
Well, surely if you're going to make a film about something, you have to have an opinion on it.
Yeah, but I think the when you get to the end of the movie, there actually was no point of view. It was just... The thing is, about this is the reason why, one of the reasons the movie's bottom for me, I thought the writing was actually pretty good, which is something I normally complain about, right? Until once we get to something like the last third or something like that, because it drew me in. Everything I was hearing was like, this is really interesting discussion about religion, belief, all those kind of things. And then it just wasn't.
Silly.
It just wasn't after that, really. There was no conclusion to anything that was brought up. There was no point of view, in my opinion.
I think, I do have one thing that I know they have a point of view on, which we come to a bit later, but it's in terms of the religion. I agree that it was really interesting, and clearly I felt that whoever has written this has done a lot of research and knows what they're talking about, which is obviously good. You don't want it to be a bunch of drivel, you want it to be actually interesting, but I still felt like it dragged for me. It was too much.
Oh, it dragged. Oh, so just the kind of like introduction bit of... And through to the middle.
Movie,
the whole movie.
But,
well, the movie's quite long in terms of like hour and 50 in terms of... But for me, the movie didn't stall. It did fly by because I was so interested in the first half. I was interested in the first half. And because I thought that Hugh Grant, Mr. Reed, was going to have some kind of... revelation at the end, or like I said, just a point of view, really, kind of thing. So you mentioned the writers, and there's Scott Beck and Brian Woods, who also both co-directed it. They've done some movies that I really do not enjoy, A Quiet Place, and they did this one particular movie called Haunt, which I thought was really, really cool. But again, the ending, the last third, just didn't tie up like whatsoever compared to the rest of the movie, and I felt like we had the same thing here with Heretic. When he questions about polygamy, he then moves on to what is your favourite fast food, and he's like, everyone's got one even if you don't eat it. And Sister Paxton brings up Burger King, which I'm in agreement with, is better than McDonald's, and she lists all these kind of other fast food joints, and then there's a whole like joke about, we don't talk about Taco Bell. That's another thing that just took me out of the film again, like trying to make this whole, we don't talk about Taco Bell, like it's supposed to be funny. The movie is already jaunty enough having cast Hugh Grant. You don't need to make the rest of the movie jaunty or comedic or attempting to be that. This could have been a more serious movie if the opening wasn't the conversation that it was, and it wasn't the female McLovin, and it could have been better if it wasn't. This is just dumb. I know that the Taco Bell thing's come back later, but she doesn't have to die in Taco Bell, does she? You can just die on the side of the street and not have the whole silly Taco Bell joke. Yeah, it took me out again.
Well, I also found that this was supposed to be maybe because I think according to their faith, they're not supposed to have things like fast food.
No, he does bring that up. He says, I know you're not supposed to have it, but everyone's got one. Yeah.
And again, it seemed to me like, what are they setting up here? Because it was clear from their answers that Sister Paxton, I mean, she sampled them all and has very clear preferences. So it's like, oh, well, that's a bit naughty according to your religion.
And pretty much everything is better McDonald's that she lists.
Whereas Sister Barnes is kind of way more reluctant to talk about it.
Reveal anything, yeah.
So again, we're building on this thing of Sister Paxton is the sidekick who's kind of going to be cannon fodder, and Sister Barnes is the main girl who is going to work everything out and escape. Mentioning
that Mr. Reed brought out the what's it called, the Book of Jehovah, and he knows everything about it. It's clear that he knows everything about religion because he's Book of Mormon. That's it, because of course the play, which we went to go and see, which is fantastic. He then says that he pretty much spent 10 whole years sifting through every single religion, trying to get kind of like the bottom of it all. And he says the line, it turns out the more you know about religion, or if you're religious, the more religious you are, the less you know. And that kind of hit home with me, because I think that's quite true, because a lot of uber religious people will be very close-minded.
Yeah. I
don't want to learn anything else.
It depends as well on what kind of belief you have, but if you're this type of person who reads your holy scripture and thinks that is, exactly the events as they unfolded, then yeah, you have to just not be thinking about reality. Whereas if you can infer stuff, that's maybe different. But also I found that interesting because, again, that was when Mr. Reed, was saying that he was a lecturer. Mm-hmm. So like I guess a PhD, mm-hmm. a doctor in religion, and that's why he was doing all this studying. And he was looking, it ties back with the fast food thing, he was looking for the Burger King of religions, mm-hmm. The number one of religions. And he says that he's found it.
Yeah, that's the last thing I was going to mention about this conversation. He says he's come across the one true religion, and he doesn't mention what it is. We just move on with the film, and they ask to see his wife again. She's still not appeared, so Mr. Reed goes off, and he comes back and saying that his wife is ready, and goes to a different part of the house, and the two girls start to get spooked now. So they make a fake call. They pretend they have a fake call coming in from, what would you call it, the Brotherhood?
No, but from the,
the flock. Right, the flock, the Jehovah's flock, and they pretend they're getting a call, and they pretend that they have to leave, and they get to the door. They don't bother telling Hugh Grant that they have to leave. They just go straight to the front door, mm-hmm. and the first thing they realise is that the coats they come in with, which have been taken from them, the bike lock is missing, and then the door is locked anyway and won't open. Yeah, so they try to find a way out. As you mentioned, there's a snowstorm outside. They can't make calls because we find out about this metal in the wall. So they start to sheepishly explore the house almost to kind of get back to see Hugh Grant, Mr. Reed. And
this was the moment when Sister Barnes first notices that the candle that Mr. Reed just blew out is in fact blueberry pie scented. Mm. Now, a quick note on that. Mm-hmm. I love a nice scented candle, but I've never smelt a candle and been like, oh yeah,
that smells exactly like
apple,
that.
Or oh yeah, that's blueberry pie.
It's like when you eat chicken flavoured crisps, it tastes nothing like chicken.
No. But so I was like, that okay. I'll let it off.
When they're exploring the house, a bit where they go down a little hallway and it's dark.
Yeah.
And they see this figure standing in the hallway. Don't destroy everything. But it turns out it's just it's a statue, isn't it? It's a human-sized statue, and that's the first time I noted. I think we were probably like 15 minutes into the movie, possibly something like this, that the lighting and the use of extreme close-ups right up my alley. I thought it was brilliant, the way that it looked in the dark.
What I was thinking at this point was, wow, the layout of this house is very
strange,
bizarre.
Peculiar, yeah, and it is peculiar.
Really weird.
Hugh Grant, Mr. Reed, even has a model of his own house in the house, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was an odd but somewhat nice little side detail.
Once they're relieved that it's just a statue, they do then come across the room where Mr. Reed is inhabiting,
which happens to look just like a little church.
Yeah, he's got an altar at the front, right?
Not a kitchen at all.
No, and they tell Reed that they need to go back. It just goes on for a while. He excuses himself and he comes back saying, you can't leave because the door won't open because for some reason it's on a timer lock. And
then he starts accusing them, oh, you wouldn't be lying to me, would you? You wouldn't feel like you have to make an excuse.
Because the girls start questioning the timer lock, so he just instantly brings it back on them, saying, essentially, I knew that you've made a fake call or pretended to receive a fake call because I asked you, are you okay with the metal in the walls and the ceiling? And I can hear everything that is going on, essentially. So that this is when, probably at this point, it's already starting to turn a bit. He's still being Hugh Grant, but there's enough of a slight switch that you can tell that there is something incredibly nefarious behind this version of Hugh Grant. So I'm not sure if I enjoy the fact that he stayed the same and managed to just turn the dial just slightly and change it so much, or if I wanted to see more of a Hugh Grant just really cut loose. What do you think?
I still just feel like he did a really good job, as I said, of what he chose to do.
Would you just say he's well cast then?
That's
he's just
what I would
well
say
cast.
I would say he was miscast. I would have liked to see something quite different from this character. I couldn't put my finger on what, but I actually thought, for as excited as I was, I felt like, as you said perfectly actually, It's too jaunty. Like there's something about Hugh Grant that is just, even when he was menacing,
He is a jaunty fellow, yeah.
it just, I don't know, it didn't have the scare factor for me, which you could have had, I think, maybe with just a different performance.
Because when I've seen other actors in different genres, as an example, Steve Carell, who's obviously known for comedy, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Anchorman, all that stuff. And then when he did that movie Foxcatcher, and he plays this, fake trainer rich guy who I think he like pays for the wrestling team to have like the best of circumstances to train and stuff like that. He's like night and day compared to what he was. It's not just, here's Steve Carell and he's being slightly nefarious. It's just like, I feel like I'm watching a completely different actor, whereas this isn't the same as that. And the only reason I kind of bring it up a little bit is because once again critically it's brought up like Hugh Grant is fantastic, and he kind of is fantastic. But I was kind of expecting, there's going to be a huge change in this, and it never came.
Well, it's your type of actor that you like. As I said, personally...
I didn't dislike him.
No, but personally, I think to be a great actor, you should be a chameleon. Whereas, obviously, you can still be a really good actor that people think, you're fantastic. And you're acting really well, but you still have certain characteristics that you can't get rid of, which, personally, I have a bit of a...
We say all this, but... surely he was still the best thing in the movie, right? Yeah, he was. So
it wasn't that.
Maybe it's
too
critical.
Anyway.
I thought they were good though, the two girls. I kind of, after thinking I was going to hate them at the beginning because of the writing, that they turned it around, and I did enjoy them both as performers. I thought they were really good, and I'm somewhat rooted for them. Somewhat. I'm not saying I really want them to survive, like Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween, but I wasn't sure if I wanted them to die, so that's something for me. I guess, yeah. As you mentioned, it's kind of like set up like a church. So
it is set up like a church, and I think it's in this church that we get the Monopoly speech, right?
Yeah. Before this, though, he's already shown that there's two doors either side of him, and one of them is belief, one of them is disbelief. Later on.
Oh, right, later on, yeah, he hasn't written that on.
And then once again asks for his wife. So he then asks, "Do you still believe my wife is even in the next room, or are you just going along with this to kind of like for your own safety almost?"
So again, he's bringing up the fact that they're kind of lying in a way.
Why do you believe something just told to you? When all the evidence is to the contrary.
Yeah, and I can see what they're trying to do here, and they're trying to be quite smart with it, but equally, you can still say, like, where's your wife, just as a way to try and get him out the room, or, just out of politeness, even if you think, she doesn't exist. Doesn't mean that you just don't say it, which I found.
Yeah.
So, Monopoly?
No, I haven't got Monopoly yet. What I've got now is what do you believe was something I told you. He then opens both doors, right, and he lets one of them just take a peek. Right. And it's down into a basement, and he'd also asked them, "You've seen my house, right? You know that," because they're asking, "We want to leave if the front door is locked," and he's like, "You can go out the back." Right, so that's when he shows them the two doors. Yeah. And they're like, "No, we'd really rather go out the front," but he says there's no way that can happen. And there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not nefarious. You can trust me, and you can leave the house. And he says to them once again, "I thought you said that you saw my house. It backs onto a hill, so obviously I have to dig down to get out." And he also said, "I'll help you get out."
You're getting really excited, aren't you?
"I'll help you get out."
Which begs the question as well, like, where is this tunnel going to emerge if you're on some cliff edge, just going to end up on a platform on the back of a cliff? But, so I think the major point here to note is the fact that the girls are asking him over and over again, we want to leave, we want to go home, and he's saying you can, but he's actually not giving them any opportunity to do it. No. Which ties in with what the whole movie's about in a bit, really.
This is once she's then seen Sister Paxton, I believe, or no,
it's Barnes.
It's Barnes. Yeah, she looks down, sees that it's this. They just kind of like step back into the room, and that's when he then pulls up the Monopoly and puts on a vinyl by the Hollies, song by the Hollies, and he starts like stating all these Monopoly facts.
It's not about the game though, and it's not about the music that he then talks about for the same reason. What he's saying is that you'll get an original of something, an original idea that maybe doesn't take off.
Yeah, because there was something called, so he pulls up Monopoly, and everyone knows what Monopoly is, as he asked him, like, everyone around the world, it's sold in X amount of countries, and yada, yada, yada. And he said, "But have you heard of this, the Landlord game?" And he starts to explain that this is like the original Monopoly, and the guy Charles Darrow, who took Monopoly and like franchised it around the world, essentially just stole from this, I believe a lady, right, came up with the landlord game. She died penniless, essentially, with no recognition. And he said then, just kind of like mid-conversation, he stops and says, oh, by the way, have you heard this song before? By the Hollies, and they both say no.
So as I was in the middle of explaining, which, again, so you've got the original, the Landlady's Game, the song by the Hollies. Then you've got someone who comes, repackages it, and it does way better, which is...
Creep by Radiohead.
Monopoly, Creep. And then you've got, like, the regional rip-offs or whatever. And he brings out some Monopoly with, like...
Some guy with an afro, some white dude with an
Ross
afro.
or
Yeah,
something,
again, I don't need to laugh at this point.
And there's some other song, some newer song.
Lana Del Rey.
Right. So he's basically making the point. He then takes out various religious scriptures, like books.
The Torah, the Bible, and
he places them in the category with the music and
Quran.
the monopolies that it fits in with. And he's essentially saying that, you know, so the original Judaism, and then you had, like, Christianity, and he ends up by putting the Book of Mormon, I think, on top of the Christianity one, and just being like, you're basically just the newest ones to come in and take the exact same ideas and repackage it with a slight change of, you know, cover art, so to speak.
When he asks them, have you heard this song before when the Hollies is playing, they obviously both say no, because it's a song from the 50s or something like that. And she says, well, yeah, we have heard it because you just played it, right? And he's like, no, before tonight. And they obviously say no. And that's when he says to them, no, you've heard Creep by Radiohead. This is exactly the same thing. And then it's Lana Del Rey after that. And the thing that he does is he goes into then the Torah. He says that Judaism is the OG, is what he calls it, but only something like 0.2% of the population are actually Jewish.
Yeah.
And he said then he got this obviously more popular one. And they all essentially say the same thing. What do you think about that? Judaism gets no credit, is what he says now. And the original, like I say, always obscured over time. He takes him in a room like a picture of Krishna. And he says, you know, this lot, these other 12 gods predate Jesus by God knows how long, kind of thing.
Yeah, and he's saying they have the same birthday.
All of them, pretty much 12. I think it's like 12 out of 13 are born on the 25th of December, essentially, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ask someone who's religious, whatever the religion may be, what are, like, the major rules? And usually it sounds great, because usually it's like, you know, be kind, and just don't do lots of drugs and alcohol, and just be like a righteous person.
Be a righteous person.
And so I can agree that on, like, the larger scope, it is kind of all the same religion. It's just how you go about, especially, I suppose, religious rites and festivals and celebrations.
So
those are all a bit different.
You're saying there is just plagiarism after plagiarism, then it just recycles itself. It's the same damn thing, pretty much. I've
not studied it like Mr. Reed's character has, so I can't say for sure. But I can say that from just having dipped in and learning a little of each religion, the core principles always seem very similar. And as he even says, you know, it's like some of them even have the exact same
everything,
you know, God, deity, and all of this. So
of course you have all the religions,
but he didn't bring up the ancient religions, which I thought was interesting.
He didn't,
because that is obviously older, and it's completely different to Judaism. So he did actually say from monotheism, though, didn't he?
Yeah.
Whereas the ancient ones were all polytheist,
polyamorous.
No.
Yeah. After he mentions all the religions, and of course then we end up with Star Wars, and Star Wars is based on kind of the religious doctrine, the way that it goes.
He says specifically Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. I hated that bit. Yeah.
Oh, when he does his Jar Jar Binks impression.
Again, you just don't. It's just not needed. He doesn't believe.
That was the worst moment in the film.
That's the worst moment in the film. Is when he brings up all this. When he inscribes belief and disbelief on both doors. Yeah.
And he challenges them. He's like, oh, you know, you should both consider long and hard which of these two doors you want to go through. And by this point, by the way, both girls now have seen that the doors both open onto stairs leading down. So neither of them really looks like the way out, which is what he said it was. And at this point, Sister Barnes thinks that he, this whole time, has been somewhat both testing them and
Observing them.
observing, yeah, trying to learn something from their behaviour.
Because Sister Paxton obviously just chooses disbelief, because in his like, this is what he wants us to choose. Let's just get the hell out of here and do what he wants us to do. Whereas, Barnes works out in a different way and believes that this is not what he actually wants.
Yeah, she's like, no, I have to actually do what I truly believe in.
Yeah.
And so she convinces Sister Paxton to join her.
To go through belief.
And they go through the belief door. Now, at this point, we then realise, as they descend the stairs further and further and they get to the bottom, that both the doors lead down to the exact same spot. Mm-hmm. So, again, it made no difference to the story which door they went down.
Maybe something different would have come out of the door on the other side instead of the prophet.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
I think it would have been exactly the same.
I'll just throw it in there,
but
just for
I
argument's
guess
sake.
maybe he was hoping that they would still, even though he's questioned so much, that they would still believe in a way, because then when he shows them the prophet, which is the next thing that happens, it would be more impactful.
Of course, as horror movies go, once they step into the basement and look back up at him, obviously he shuts the door on them, so it's complete darkness. As they go down, it's just a dank basement, that's all it is. But there's a plank with nails. They try to do a little bit of investigating to see if they can get out, and Sister Barnes hanging from part of the wood structure, and a plank falls down with some nails in it. And then they hear Hugh Grant coming down the stairs, so they kind of hide the plank with the nails and just pretend that they're just looking around as usual.
Right.
And pretend that they're just looking around.
There's also, I don't know if this actually means anything, but there's been a theme throughout the film since it got a bit dodgy, since they leave the front room, essentially, of dripping water. Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea what that was supposed to be? Because they have it the whole time. So when they're up in the church room, he's got some contraption that the water's dripping down. And then in the basement room, there's water dripping down.
He also mentions that his wife built contraptions in the house, right? And that went nowhere.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I do recall Hugh Grant's character saying, my wife put this together. So I thought she was going to pop out at some point. She doesn't.
Well, actually, when you say that... sorry, carry on. Hugh Grant... Mr. Reed comes down and...
Yeah, but instead someone comes out with blueberry pie in a robe and places it down, then starts to contort.
No. So yeah, Mr. Reed comes down and he says to them, look, I had to get you down here because I want you guys to be witnesses to a miracle. Like I said, I found the true religion and you're going to experience something incredible. And you went, you believe, so your mind is open to this. And he places a blueberry pie down very close to the dripping water, by the way, which bugged me. I was like, oh, the blueberry pie is going to get ruined.
Yeah, it's poisoned.
Well, we don't know that yet. So yeah, he leaves them down there. And lo and behold, a very, very shabby, dirty woman.
Shabby, dirty woman, yeah.
Yeah, like rags. She's got a veil on as well, though.
Little
Seriously
lamp.
dirty feet and fingers and emaciated. Basically on the brink of death, shuffles out, sits down and starts eating said blueberry pie in front of the sisters.
And he says, you are now in the presence of a living prophet.
He says through...
of God.
A pipe. So he's still upstairs, but he can talk to them and hear them.
Yeah.
So he's not
he's
there,
in the mainframe room.
Yeah, he seems to know exactly what's going on.
He says she'll be dying by eating this poisoned blueberry pie, which she's put kind of like witches.
Belladonna and something else it was.
Yeah,
so
witches ingredients in it.
Flowers.
And he says, once she does pass away, feel for her pulse and see if she's still breathing. And you will now witness a resurrection now that you've seen that she is dead.
The bit where he gets them to check for sure that she is dead, I quite liked that bit because it was quite gross. So obviously this woman who already, as we said, looks like you don't even really want to poke her with a stick, bless her, you want to get her in a bathtub. But she's now died into the blueberry pie as well. And he's like, you need to feel for breath, get the pulse and all of this. So Sister Barnes keeps maneuvering her head up so that they could put their hands in front and stuff and then dropping it in the pie again. Yeah, there was something really gross about that bit that I liked.
Fortunately, I didn't get the gross. No, I remember the scene vividly, but it didn't affect me in any way. Yeah, it seemed grosser things than that, I guess. During this, an elder knocks at the door. There's a disturbance now for
He's gone
Hugh
to
Grant.
look for them.
And the elder that knocks at the door, I didn't realise until this afterwards, is Topher Grace. He's in that 70s show. He's in quite a few things. He's just in this tiny little role. It's 30 lines or something like that maximum, then he's off. Topher Grace, everybody. Yeah. Elder knocks, and the girls, they start to scream from the basement.
But they cannot
But they can't, can't be heard. And they notice that the little gap through the door that they can see, on the carpet in front of them in the other room, there's a box of matches. So they decide that they need to pull the rug through so that they can get said box of matches.
Yeah.
Is it getting a bit unbelievable now? Because it's kind of like started off as a kind of like serious-ish movie, and now it's just gone into almost like Ready or Not territory.
I feel like they wanted that moment again of adding tension, because we get them trying to get the carpet and the matches whilst Mr. Reed ends up coming back in through the room a couple of times, and they have to like freeze. So it's supposed to be a point of high tension, but equally it didn't feel like that at all for me, because especially at the fact that they were hoping to make smoke go up the pipe so that the elder at the door might smell the smoke and go and rescue them. But the elder's already left. So the fact that Hugh Grant's walking in and out and you have to freeze and do it, it makes no difference whatsoever.
I say the elder's there.
The matches are useless at this point.
He's asking about the two girls. Have you seen them? And then he leaves, and then he quickly comes back and knocks on the door again. And obviously we think that he's seen the bikes chained up outside, which the two sisters have left. But instead he's like, I would be remiss if I didn't leave you this pamphlet. And that was quite a good joke, because Jehovah's Witnesses never leave without giving you some kind of pamphlet or little code thing to look at.
I kind of saw it coming. I was like, he's going to be like, oh, well, they didn't make it. Let me quickly talk to you. So, but I still liked it, but I did see it coming. But yeah, so like I said, this moment with the carpet and the matches just fell flat completely.
Yeah. Once they go back down into the basement, one of the girls now thinks that he's seen the prophet move, or his move position.
Yeah, so she had her head like facing left and now it's facing right.
Yeah, and quickly she is resurrected, and we know because she's vomiting everywhere. She comes back alive with vomit coming out of her mouth, and she says about something, she's murmuring some stuff, and she says something is not real.
Yeah, so she gives her prophecy, which Mr. Reed said she would do. He said, when she dies, she'll pass to the other side, and when she's resurrected, she will speak a prophecy from what she saw, essentially. And it sounded, I didn't catch it all, but it sounded pretty grim. Like, it's all darkness and this and that. And she ends by saying, it's not real. Yeah, as you say. So
we're left to wonder, what is the thing that's not real, and what is this one true religion? This one is a couple of questions now, which are kind of open-ended. Hugh Grant comes back down into the basement, and he says that he knows that one of the two guys have been lying since the very beginning of this whole ordeal, and has a big secret. He then asked them to make a witness statement for the resurrection, right?
To confirm what they saw, essentially.
Confirm what we saw. And he brings up the whole thing of, what are we doing here? Where do we come from? It's terrifying, and that is the whole thing that religion is built around, because it's terrifying, and we all want to know that for some kind of like comfort.
Yeah, I think he brought up the fact, which I also kind of agree with. I'm like, oh, you punish gay people for being gay, even though you made them that way, kind of thing. Little things like that. I was like, yeah, that's kind of true, but it's not a new thought or anything. But also, just quickly, when you said about, I know one of you is, has been lying or keeping a secret or whatever the words are, he's like, I know this because of the way the flames react to you. And he's got a match, and he's like putting it between the two of them, and I was like, where's this leading? What do you mean the flames?
There was too much of where is this leading, and it didn't lead anywhere.
Yeah,
that's the problem with the film.
That was probably the most bizarre side story, because I'm not going to say which one, because that's more of a giveaway, but it ends up being, he explains to the remaining one, he's like, oh, I knew it was that one who was lying because robots deflect flames or something along those lines. And I was like, what now?
Yeah, where are we? Wait, am I still watching? Oh, did I just hear that?
I thought this guy was just like seriously, anti-religious and was trying to teach these girls some new way. But when he starts talking about robots,
he starts talking about robots and the simulation, doesn't he? Simulation theory, things like this. I mean, one of the girls, I think, all of a sudden now, Miss Sister Paxton is decided to turn her whole personality upside down. She decides that she's going to start fighting back into what he says with intellect.
Well,
even though it's suggested through Barnes, right?
It was Sister Barnes who was like, we have to, from now on, when he says stuff we don't agree with, we have to fight him back. And also by this point, Mr. Reed has tried to say to them, with his belief, he's like, well, if you want to experience the next life, or no, experience the other side and then come back freed, you know, because you're in chains at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You need to kill yourself. Basically, you need to off yourself so that, you know, you can be resurrected. And obviously the girls don't believe it.
No, I think it's Paxton that says it's a magic trick, not a miracle that I've seen.
No, it's
here.
Barnes. Barnes is the one who questions everything that he does.
And then it's revealed, this whole Taco Bell thing from earlier on, why we don't talk about Taco Bell. Barnes then tells a story about how she died at Taco Bell, saw the same stuff as the Prophet came back and said that she saw, pretty much. And then her throat gets slit, it seems.
Well, because she explains basically that's a scientific phenomenon that happens.
Yeah,
and so it doesn't actually mean anything. That's why she said it's a, you know, I think you kept that woman on the brink of death and then you replaced her.
Yeah, what did you make about what Sister Barnes was saying about what she saw when she was dead? And the fact that it's alluding to people that experience this kind of thing, they're not actually seeing death, they're seeing something completely different, which is scientifically explainable.
Of what's happening to your brain and stuff as it's shutting down. Yeah, sure. I mean, how can I can't have a strong opinion because I've never died. And even if I had died, briefly and come back to life, how am I to know whether it was a physical thing or if it was spiritual? I have no idea.
Once you got and slit Barnes' throat.
Yeah, which was unexpected.
Yeah.
Was it unexpected for you as well? Because I didn't see it coming.
It was unexpected for me because I didn't expect that kind of level of not that it's ultra violent scene or anything.
No, not
I
at
didn't
all.
think that, seeing what we've seen previously in the film, I didn't think there's going to be like a throat slitting kind of moment in it. But yeah, so I guess I wasn't ultra surprised. It was like sitting there going, oh my god.
But it goes back to the way they were filming everything and building everything, that they were saying Sister Barnes is the main character, so you expect her to live. And now suddenly she's been sliced.
So you did mention earlier on, you just mentioned it again, Sister Barnes is the main character. I thought her obviously the stronger character in terms of personality wise, but I thought it was more of a dual thing. I wasn't. If Paxton had died instead, I wouldn't have been surprised either way.
No, the way that it was all filmed, and even the type of character, and the fact that, you know, there was no question to me that Sister Barnes was the main character, even though they have equal amounts to do. Whenever it was Sister Barnes, it was always like close-up reaction shots.
That's why I got the Renee thing from her.
Then it was more like doubles, and you know, it just didn't have this. It was very clear to me that we were supposed to be trying to read what's going on in Sister Barnes.
Do you not think it was something about because they were doing the close-ups on Barnes from early on, and Hugh Grant says about her that she is hiding some kind of secret. I thought that was like some camera work to see that she is, you know, we've got to read her more, we've got to look into her eyes and see if she is hiding something, whereas Paxton was more free. I would have been more surprised if Paxton had a secret.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, secret aside, I'm just saying it came to me super early on in the film that was, oh, okay, so clearly Sister Barnes is the main. So
I don't
yeah,
disagree
so
then.
when she was offed, I was
still
like,
shocked.
I was like, oh, okay, I expected that to happen to Paxton, but now it's happened to Barnes. So I guess that was one thing that I did like about it, that I could still be surprised by something, and that I feel like they intentionally built it up to be like, you expect her to survive, and suddenly she's not.
If the movie wasn't already lost to me at this point, because now we're just getting into like typical horrors, like throat slits and people dying after we'd already had this kind of in-depth discussion beforehand. Now, when he starts talking about simulation theory and pulls out a metal prong out of Sister Barnes's arm, and he says, you know, it's a contraceptive or something, or Paxton says it's a contraceptive, and he's saying she's a robot.
Yeah, it's back to the robot thing.
Yeah. What? So again, it kind of didn't go anywhere.
So it's like Matrix style. He's basically saying that there are fake people amongst real people, and that Sister Barnes was a fake person, and this is the proof he needs. He's got like a microchip, and Sister Paxton is holding her best friend's gouged out piece of medicine, and is like, I think it's actually birth control.
And then Hugh Grant says, but have you ever met a Mormon who's on birth control? Because obviously not supposed to be. She then rejects simulation theory, which is skimmed upon somewhat, and he gives her a theory. She gives her theory of switching bodies, and it goes into a long story. Oh, this is what you did. You switched bodies, yada yada yada. And I was like, well, is this what you actually believe? Is this because it just seemed like there's no way that this would have happened.
Yeah. I feel like the rest of it's a lot less to get into because now it's, as you said, less interesting and more just like typical.
I think just when it just falls apart.
Typical stuff. Yeah. I mean, what I remember now is
There must be another way into the basement.
Kind of like trying to find different ways out. She's led through apparently no free will of her own, but there's no other option. She's led to a room.
There's a latch on the floor which opens to like the subterranean. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she Hugh Grant says to her, if there's a body down there, then
your theory is right.
Your theory is correct, yeah.
But
don't go down there unless you want to discover the one true religion.
Yeah, so you're still going on about it. We still don't know what it is.
No, and there is a dead body down there.
There is, so she was right.
Shuts her in.
There was a body swap. And, so she carries on. She gets to a room with her bike lock on it.
Yeah.
And she has the key because it's been swapped to her coat from earlier, and she opens it, and what is in this room? It's freezing. There's water spray on a timer, and it's full of cages
of these robed women, which we saw the prophet in the basement of the blueberry pie.
He's been starving these women, keeping them freezing cold, basically, just as she said, kept these women on the brink of death. And he enters the room at this kind of point when she's like trying to help them. I mean, what can she do really? She's not even safe. And he says, so I can finally reveal like the true religion, the real one.
True religion.
It's control.
Yeah, like we never heard that before.
Yeah.
That was a letdown. That for me, that was a huge letdown. I thought there was going to be a real opinion on religion.
And also,
shame on me for
thinking.
I felt
like when you know that and you're looking back through everything, and as we've been talking about it now, it seems to me the writers are essentially saying that all religions are cults, all cults are religions, all of it is just based on control and, controlling what actions people take. And I think specifically this to me seemed like cult reminiscent in the sense of like, because they make a point throughout the film that he's saying, oh, you can leave, or you can do this, you can do that, but they actually can't. But I still felt like it was far less subtle than it should have been, because it's not the same. Like when you're in a religion that you don't want to be in, or in a cult, or any situation
you could be born into it.
Any situation, it's not just about believing what you're told, because if you want to leave physically, there's nothing stopping you, but it's a moral panic you get. You think, oh, if I leave this cult, then I'll burn for all eternity in hell. Whereas in the film, he's saying you can leave, but they literally physically can't. So you're actually taking that way. It's no longer his control over them emotionally and mentally, which is what it should be. It's a physical control. So I kind of feel like that took away a lot of the impact of it as well.
And it's not like the movie just ends there in this kind of revelation. It then carries on, and she ends up Paxton ends up stabbing Hugh Grant in the neck, and she kind of makes a run for it. But then he comes back, ends up kind of like getting her. So then he stabs her in the stomach, right?
How someone can be stabbed through the neck
and not make any noise,
and still walk around and have like the ability to stab her and then crawl over to her and stuff.
Paxton then starts to pray, because he ask her, are you going to start praying or something like this? And he crawls over to her when she does start to pray, and she's like, so she makes a speech about praying, saying it's not for me technically, I'm thinking about other people, and that makes me feel good or something.
Yeah, that's what she was saying. She was saying that I don't actually believe that when I pray,
some miracle
my God is listening and he's going to do this. She's like, I just think in terms of humanity, it's nice to take a moment to actually wish other people well and things like this.
Yeah, at this point, Hugh Grant has kind of like crawled onto her and is somewhat crying.
Like he was seeking comfort.
Yeah, but then he goes to kind of kill her again, right? Because out of nowhere, then Sister Barnes turns up with that 3-pronged plank of wood, which she'd taken down in the basement, hits him upside the head with it, and that's the end of him. Then she then dies. She's not dead from the throat slit. She's dead from the effort of carrying the plank.
Well, as we
smashing in the face,
been taught by this film, knife to the throat, you're good. You can hang on. You can still walk around and do stuff. Yeah. So well, actually, she's the most put out by her injury. So she doesn't really move once she's got the knife to the stomach.
I kind of like Hugh Grant's dying action. that kind of thing. And Paxton escapes. And previously, Paxton had been asked by Hugh Grant, if you did die, what would you like to come back at? Right? She makes this whole story about a butterfly. She would just like to fly around and meet her family, land on the fingertips of her family members so they would know it's her or something like that. So once she's now escaped the house, she's walking outside in like the forest, the foliage, and also like a butterfly lands on her fingertips, or does it?
Barnes butterfly.
Or does it? And I tried to bring it around, I guess, a philosophical ending, trying to say that's Barnes, right? Like you said, Barnes a fly. But for me, the movie had already gone astray far beyond this point, that the very ending was a bit like, oh dear Lord, I can't believe that it actually went there with the flying butterfly on her fingers.
Oh yeah, and that was the other thing with the control. Again, they're using his prophetess, these women that he's got in cages, as again, like, look, I control them. But I found it very strange that he had to keep them in like cages and stuff like that to control them. But I suppose it worked, because in what they're saying is that the one who came in and gave the prophecy had been given a script by him, and she went and did what she was told. But then, yeah, she said that extra thing, it's not real. Which
ended up getting her finger cut off by Hugh Grant.
Oh, was that her?
Yeah, she's like, oh, right, you're right. She did go off script, and then instead of doing her nails, does her whole finger. Yeah, so I would say this was, I'd say it was very well filmed. I think on a technical level, quite superb actually. A lot of the way the camera was worked. It was an interesting subject matter for the first half. Very engaging for the first half. And then after that, not so much. So that's why it's bottom for me. I still enjoyed the film. I didn't think it was like terrible. Normally when we watch kind of more modern horror movies, we're always left kind of like, literally, what the hell was that? I just wasted all my time. I didn't feel like I wouldn't watch it again. But I didn't think it was awful or anything like that. So bottom for me, second place for you. So now we move on to my second place, your bottom, which was Late Night with the Devil.
I'm actually quite shocked that you clearly didn't dislike this film, because I want to say I hated it.
Really?
I hated it, and it's for a really specific reason. And basically, it ends up being, as much as I had to say about the subject matter for Heretic, I have basically nothing to say for Late Night with the Devil, because I was so irked by one thing throughout, that the story kind of is lost on me. And it was the way it was filmed and presented. It bothered me so much, and I'll explain why. This film, obviously, it's based in a 70s TV show.
77 it's based in, yeah.
77, right? And they filmed it as if we're watching the broadcast, and in between the broadcasts, someone has just randomly gone round filming them so that we can see the rest of the story. The concept of us watching something that actually happened, which is what they're trying to sell with this, I enjoy. I think that's great. But the way it was pulled off, it was terrible. Just making it the format of a 70s show.
The aspect ratio.
The aspect ratio.
Okay, yeah.
Doesn't sell it completely. No. And I fully think that if you'd filmed some of the sections, like especially the intro when it goes into the show, as if, like, use the same cameras they used, use the same editing techniques, make it genuinely feel like we are actually, as the current now audience member, watching a show from the 70s, and then to be able to like do the rest of the film, you could transition seamlessly from, right, here you're watching the 70s archive footage.
Yeah.
Now let's go to a sort of, a more point of view thing, as a film does, a fly on the wall kind of situation. So it doesn't have to be faked as, someone's going around filming, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure little handheld cameras and stuff were not a thing then. And the way it was done, it was just stupid, because they were still doing conversations as if no one else
like everyone was mic'd up perfectly as well.
It was, the whole thing just irked me so much that I think they destroyed what could have been really enjoyable for me, but because they did that bit so badly. And I want to think of an example, a film that I love, which we saw quite recently for me for the first time, is
Shadow of the Vampire.
Shadow of the Vampire,
Yeah.
which again uses techniques where the film is about them filming a film in the 30s or 20s even. And that one, I'm not going to say it literally feels like, oh yeah, we're watching 20s film reel, but it felt a lot more like, okay, yeah, this is what's happening, and I'm part of that. This, I just wish that they'd really made certain moments feel like what they're saying, because they do the whole intro thing of, oh, this was found real of an actual event, and I'm like, well, if it was, then hello Mumu, then make me believe that I am actually watching original film reel from the time.
I completely agree with everything that you said, to the point that it's actually in my notes. I do completely agree with that. There's still points of the movie that I did enjoy. I've got quite a few irks with it as well, but there's something about it which I think somewhat original, because there is something that does exist like this from British TV called Ghostwatch, with Parky was in it. It's essentially the same thing. You know Parkinson? No? Okay, Parky, he is in it, and they're in a TV studio, and they're doing a chat show, and all of a sudden it gets haunted.
Right.
And the same thing essentially happens. And I haven't seen it since then. That was from 1992. Maybe they thought they'd, get everybody, but not me. So anyway, it opens like you say. So we've got this show called Night Owls, right? With Jack Delroy, played by Mr. Dasmalkian, right? And he's a talk show host, and this whole intro says that he's fighting out for number one in the chat show host charts. Said I was recently married to this bombshell called Madeline, who then gets a shock cancer diagnosis because, shock horror, she wasn't even a smoker, and ends up that his wife dies, and he kind of like stops his trail from one for just 1 month. He goes and disappears for a month and then comes back, to the surprise of everybody, and picks up his show where it left off. And there's also kind of mention that he's part of this secret society in its opening as well. And the first thing I mentioned, which caught my eye, was when they mentioned the secret society, they had a kind of flashback black and white footage of it. People dressed in owls' heads and robes. And the lead owl, and his movements.
It wasn't even just him. They were all moving weird in the ground, like,
yeah.
Like, is this supposed to be funny?
There were parts of this movie where I laughed where I shouldn't be laughing.
I don't think it was supposed to be funny.
I don't think it was supposed to be funny.
But I found that hilarious. The 2 times those owl cult people show up, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, because the second time they show up wasn't any less funny.
Absolutely awful.
The whole intro, I almost felt it slightly wasn't needed.
Again, the intro, the voice they chose, I felt was so off. I was like, this is a terrible choice.
I've also written that, yeah, the voiceover is off.
He had a great voice, but not for this. It was, oh my god, I didn't know what tone they were going for. They're like tabloid foddering, because that's what they're showing us.
Yeah.
But then it felt more like, oh, they're trying to be menacing, but
because the images of Jack Delroy, the TV presenter, late night talk show host, like appearing on like Time magazine and things like of this nature. And yeah, the news of his wife dying, and it comes to the end of it saying that he's part of the secret society. We see the Owlman, and the voiceover then says what you're about to see is the master tape of that night, as well as backstage footage. So when we get into the show now, as in like Late Night Owls, what's it called? I've got it up here. So Night Owls with Jack Delroy. Once we go into the show from 1977, we're on. Is it David Dasmalkian? I've always forgotten his first name, but everyone knows Mr. Dasmalkian is, right? And straight away he's doing his shtick, and instantly I'm thinking, no wonder this guy isn't number one, because his jokes and his presentation, is his hype man Gus, the leader of the band, the bald guy, they're all just terrible. Nothing is funny. I'm confused. Is that purposeful in the script? I don't know. Because this guy shouldn't even be number two. It was god awful. I was also saying that David Dasmalkian, he looks too straight. You think about late night talk show hosts. They're all, you know what they're like, yeah. Jonathan Ross, so forth, and there's kind of like no cheek. It's a little bit forced.
Austin Powers style.
And I don't believe it.
No.
I don't believe it. I say there's no charisma, and I'm saying, is that the actor or is it the character? Because later on we find out that obviously the character, he's got something on his back because, you know, his wife's died, and when we find out how his wife's died, we know that he's aware of what is actually going on here. And I'm thinking to myself, is this a character choice? Like, David S. Malcolm is thought to himself, okay, my character knows that he's just recently committed to like an atrocity, and I can't just come back kind of like all jaunty and proper. I've got to kind of like act sad, and he does play up to the audience in his sadness kind of thing. The other thing that I also wrote, so I've written there, is it purposeful? Is it the actor or is it the character? The other thing, you think about as late night talk show host, they're broad shoulders, they're open, they're confident. I felt like he was like the penguin, like, here, this is my talk show host, and let's go on to the next segment. He was like very closed, he was very closed up.
Yeah.
Closed up.
I
wasn't getting like that talk show host from him.
I felt like, yeah, I didn't love David Dastmalchian. Again, it's hard to say if it's the direction or the acting. I don't know.
Or the script, because the poor jokes and stuff.
I was very blah on it, and I didn't like the girl's performance.
Lily, the young girl.
Yeah.
Wow, that was my favourite thing about it. Right.
No, and the like nurse or something who looks after her.
The doctor, Dr. June.
I thought she's a fantastic actress, but I felt like they made her character far too just regular. Like, she's supposed to be so well-meaning and kind-hearted, but then she goes along with stuff, and I was like, actually, I would have liked it to see her with a bit of a, like, you know, fame-hungry side, or something a bit more interesting than just
June as a fame-hungry, the doctor.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. As we mentioned, so he's when we get
and the guy who is the first guest. I hated his performance.
Yeah, we're not there yet. So when we have this intro, it's quite a long intro. So it probably runs about 8 minutes on this whole backstory of Jack Delroy. So we know that he's been and gone from the show for a month because his wife passed away. And now that he's back, he's kind of like formulating a plan about how can I now be number one. So he's put together this show, and its interest in the occult is on the rise. So he has 3 different guests who are all different parts of interest of the occult. And the first guest who we're about to mention, who he brings out, is a character called Christou, who is a psychic. And yeah, he comes out, and it's a 1977 show, so it's almost like this is a new thing to be shown on television, you know, a psychic. And yeah, he has a go first. You know, he comes out, he's introduced, and there's this guy in the crowd called Barry, who essentially just zings Christou at every point and makes him look stupid. Remember? Yeah,
because clearly Christou is a fraud.
Christou is a fraud.
He's trying to guess stuff, and it's just completely wrong.
Yeah, when this guy Barry's been zinging him, essentially just like throwing back everything that Christou has made a prediction about with his cold reading, essentially is what it is. Chris then moves on to 2 ladies, I believe they're a mother and a daughter, and he fools them about knowing about a suicide victim in their family, right? I think it's the dad and the husband, possibly.
Okay, no, carry on. I was just processing what you said. I know what you're talking about, but I thought that this was supposed to not be a trick. I thought he was one of those characters where, you know, they're a psychic, but you can't do it on demand. So he's gone out there and he seems like a complete fraud because he's getting everything wrong. But then when he talks to these 2 women, he's genuinely getting something. That's what I thought the film was supposed to be portraying. So
no,
he's not fooling them.
I wasn't saying that he was fooling them either. I was just saying that that's what he went to. And he does bring up the suicide victim, and they both say, yeah, we do know it. So you kind of like, yeah, as you said, left wondering. And
again, he comes up with some more specific details about it and stuff.
Absolutely.
So yeah, at this point, we definitely are being led to believe that Christou is actually genuine. Which is,
at least he can cold read to a certain level. And yeah, he talks about the suicide victim, but then we're about to go to a break. So Jack Delroy is about to say, you know, we're going to break. And he all of a sudden, Christou's like, oh, this is very intense. I'm getting another name. And he brings up the name Minnie. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but during the intro, when it showed Jack Delroy having his dying wife on the show, which was his highest rated installment at that point.
Oh, I didn't like her performance in that either.
No, that was pretty bad. It reminded me of
it
reminded me of the guy in Frasier. It's like Mercutio,
not
kind of thing, yeah. And he once they like kind of like finished talking to each other, she mouses something to him like, "Oh, I love you," and he says, And I could tell straight away that he said Minnie, even though she'd been introduced as Madeline. So once Chrissy says Minnie, I was like, oh, this is clearly something to do with Jack Delroy.
Yeah, even I knew
and
that.
then he quickly says, an unmarried man with a wedding ring. I'm like, oh yeah, obviously he's widowed, he's wearing his wedding ring. So I don't know if it's supposed to go over people's heads, you're not supposed to notice it, but
yeah, because I knew
you can't
straight
catch
away.
me,
Because
us,
the
yeah.
psychic is like, oh, Minnie, does this mean? And no one's saying anything. But yeah, we both clearly knew that it was supposed to be Das Malkian.
Now here's another thing about performance, right?
This was the bit that made me be like, this Christou guy sucks.
Christou is now supposed to be getting a legitimate message from the other side, right? He's supposed to be being possessed.
Really affecting him.
And instead he's doing the same shtick face as he's doing when we still think he's a fraud. And again, I was like, because it's so obviously bad that this guy is not being possessed, I was like, it must be purposeful. But why?
It can't be. No, so this bit was the worst performance moment of the film, and I actually cannot believe that it made it into the movie.
So you think at this point when he's going,
he's supposed to be,
feeling like he's possessed.
No, we know that because they close up on his face and his eyeballs.
Oh, his eyeballs go back. Yeah. So yeah, that does clarify it.
He's supposed to be possessed, but oh my god, the acting! It was like first day of an amateur dramatics class. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. He did a little bit. He's still in the show, and he did a little bit better later on. But that one moment where it's supposed to be all out, I mean,
no. But again, I think he does
terrible.
So much better than what he does in that moment later on. Yeah. Not blowing me away, but just competent,
way more believable,
competent and believable.
Because that moment. And also, like, the first thing, even when it first starts happening, he seems to be in a lot of pain from, like, oh, something is giving me a message and is giving me pain.
And he's like, the name is definitely Minnie, he says, because Jack tries to bat it away.
There and stuff.
I completely get what you mean.
I thought he would, like, lose some more control of his body because he was in so much pain. It was just bad. It
was just bad, unfortunately. And now Jack actually goes to the break. So the audience have all seen Christou supposedly possessed, yes. Mm-hmm. And it's now that we get our first backstage bit, and there's a showrunner there who comes up to Jack and he's like, don't let it faze you. That was just great television no matter what. And it's like you say, when we were told at the beginning after the intro that what we're about to see is the master tape and some backstage footage, I don't think it's going to be some guy with a handheld camera in 1977 just walking around following them, catching every single piece of dialogue perfectly. And like I say, following them around quite a vast backstage area.
So dumb.
That then took me out of what you've already said.
Yeah,
set
exactly.
It up, right?
Exactly.
So dumb. So I'd written at that point, found footage backstage, camera rolling, question marks, mic perfect, question mark. I've then written, you said fly on the wall style almost. I've just written, could have made it dark, where they could have just had Jack and the showrunner talking. You can't even hear what they're saying. You just hear like noises like that or something from the wall while you just see them talking, and then you just kind of like fed little bits here and there rather than seeing an entire conversation take place backstage.
Basically, there were multiple ways that they could have done this and it would have been far more effective, but you can't go into a film telling us that we're going to watch film reel from the 70s and then have us still believe it when this is what you give us.
I also then wrote they kind of like kicked themselves, in the nuts, because they didn't have to have it caught on camera. They could have just presented to the audience, us watching, that this is what was happening backstage. You didn't have to present it.
That's what I mean with a more fly on the wall type thing. So you have your moments of, this is the actual 70s show that aired in 77. And now let's show you, because this is a film, so we can show you a bit what's going on behind as they were filming it. It wouldn't take away from the fact that...
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Personally, I managed to get over that after seeing that because I made that note on the first time they went backstage. It's not like I was like, oh, actually, it was straight away. I was like, I shouldn't be doing this, especially when they've laid out what it's supposed to be. So that was unfortunate, but like I said, didn't get in the way too much. So now they go back out onto the set, and the second guest is now to be introduced, and the guy is named Carmichael the Conjurer Hay. He was a former magician and paranormal investigator who is now a skeptic. And he's based on a real life guy who actually walked around with checks, because he walks around with a check for $100,000 and he says, if anyone can give me irrefutable proof of the paranormal, I will hand you over $100,000 like that. So obviously it's the perfect time to be a psychic or an occultist on a chat show with this guy here, because you're being given the perfect opportunity. once he's being interviewed, and he's also doing his magic tricks at the beginning, isn't he? He's doing his magic tricks.
He's a bit of a pain in the arse as well.
Yeah,
you can tell he's just like
he's
pompous.
a bit pompous, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Christo is sitting next to him, a little bit worse for wear. He's kind of like sweating, and he wants water. Didn't want makeup during the break and things like this. And kind of the Carmichael's like kind of like needling him, saying that you're a fraud and things like this. And we've then got horrible CGI vomit from Christo, because Christo starts to like double over in pain. He gets on the floor. We see his neck kind of like neck veins get thick.
Yeah.
But then the camera goes in front of his face, and we have this CGI vomit. You could have just had real black liquid,
Exorcist style,
coming out of his mouth. Why did they go with terrible, terrible CGI?
Yeah, it's a shame. And again, very much takes you out of the 70s.
Yeah, that's another big problem.
So he's doubled over vomiting, and he gets escorted off in an ambulance. And it's during one of the handheld camera moments, I think, when we're not even following Des Malkian, because, what kind of handheld camera guy in the 77 would follow the main guy? You also have to take your time with the lower characters, right? So he catches, like, some of the crew basically being like, Christo died.
Yeah, that's a bit further on, because once we see like that Carmichael has his $100,000 checks, and he's part of the International Federation of Scientific Investigation into the Paranormal. That's a mouthful. It calls like IPFIS or something like this, doesn't he? And I say he's poking fun at Christo's in a bad way, and he makes the point of that even a broken clock is right twice in a day, and that's how Christo's managed to get his cold reading correct. And Christo decides that he's going to leave the set, so he wants to leave, but then Jack tells about the private nickname Minnie and the wedding ring, which means something to him, which Christo brought up previously. The name Minnie and an unmarried man with a wedding ring, and he kind of like gets Christo to come back on the stage, and that's when we have this horrible CGI vomit moment, and it all goes all over Carmichael, by the way, the vomit. And I've written here, use real stuff, not CGI. Carmichael now backstage is hounding Jack about cooking the whole thing up.
Yeah.
He's like, there's no way that this guy said the name Minnie, an unmarried man with a wedding ring, you've cooked this up so that it looks like he's legit, right? Carmichael then also alludes to the secret society that Jack Delroy's in again. He's like, what is it, Jack? Secret handshakes, orgies, I want in. Especially the orgies, of course, because why would you join a cult otherwise, right? Once we've been introduced to Carmichael, that's another backstage moment, obviously, when he's talking about the secret society.
I have to give it to at least Des Malkian at this point. Like, you can see that he's genuinely unsettled. So we know that he hasn't cooked it up, and he's not just acting in front of the skeptic. He genuinely had no idea.
It was only Des Malkian's performance at the very beginning when he was being kind of introduced at this kind of like happy-go-lucky TV presenter. I just wasn't buying. I feel like I had an ill-fitting suit almost, because he just seems so cramped up and not free and not charismatic. We're about to get to the third guest, and it's Conversations with the Devil author, Dr. June Ross, who has a little girl called Lily, who is the subject of the book. And we have like a scene showing flashbacks of the first church of Abraxas. And we have a kind of Anton LaVey type character called Diabo, who's founded the first church of Abraxas, Sandor Diabo. And there's rumours that children are bred there for sacrifice, and the FBI has been onto them. And unfortunately, much like Waco, there's been an FBI siege laid at the place, and the followers end up burning themselves alive inside the property. But Lily, who is going to be part of the Church of Abraxas, she's the one survivor. She might be a bred baby from the Church of Abraxas, and now she is the subject of Dr. June's her book, right? And Lily comes out, and she's claimed to be possessed. Things like that. We see videos of her, audio footage of her. Audio evidence of her talking in this like demonic man voice. And once Lily is introduced, I started to like it more. When she came out with like raw confidence, looking at the camera. At first, I was linking it in with all the other performances, which were a bit hokey. But I started to think about it. She was a possessed girl. She was doing this kind of like there was like no filter with her. She was just there doing it, controlled by the demon rather than being the little girl. And for me personally, I thought she was the best thing in it. I thought she was great.
No, I thought it was a bit try hard again. Like
At first,
the whole like,
once
which camera should I look at? And he has to be like, oh, don't look at that. And I even came into my mind just as what you're saying. Well, would the demon thing be like that? But I don't know. I didn't think it was sold.
I thought she had a detached performance. I thought she was quite detached, and that's what made me believe her. When she first comes out, heading for that camera, at first I thought it, like you just said, I thought it was try hard. And then I went back because I watched it a second time just to like run through notes. And yeah, I was getting a whole different thing from her. I felt like she was like really owning what she was doing personally. I guess it's just a matter of opinion, but
I don't know. All I can say is that I still watched it and saw an actress rather than a little girl who's possessed.
yeah, so I've forgotten she's detached and confident. I thought she was good. So Jack Delroy is kind of like speaking to her. He introduces himself essentially, just asks like a random question. He makes a joke. He's like, "I've got to ask you a very hard question. Have you watched my show before?" And then he plays to the crowd for laughs. And she says back to him, "No, I've never seen your show before, but I do know who you are, Jack. And June thinks you're very handsome. Thinks you're very handsome, Jack." And then it kind of like quickly, I think it goes to a break once she brings up his dead wife. She says, "I'm very sorry about your dead wife." And kind of like Jack Doe kind of brushes it off saying, "Oh, such wise words for one so young. We'll be back after this." And then they go backstage. So we're now, she's revealed straight away the affair which is going on between Jack and June. Right, it's become obvious to us. And backstage, June then starts to warn Jack over exposing Lily too much and said that she recently went into a state where she was repeating Jack's name. And he's like, "Well, this is great. You know, we're on a comeback trail here. This is what I need. I need controversy." And she is very adamant that he shouldn't be kind of playing with this. Right? So Jack is then informed by the producer, the showrunner guy, that Christou has passed away. And he's like, "We can't let this get out." It turns out he had a hemorrhage in the ambulance and the doctors couldn't stop it.
He basically vomited and shat himself to death.
Yeah, and they're going to keep it stum.
Grim.
They can't have Carmichael finding out. So now we've just got Carmichael and June and Lily on stage. And Carmichael like belittles June by saying that she got her doctorate from the University of Hogwash, something like this. And she said, "Actually, I'm a parapsychologist and I've got this kind of thing and that's the other," and kind of like chastises him for chastising her, right? See, also June believes it's not Abraxas that is inside Lily. He believes it's an underling of Abraxas, because Abraxas would essentially be the devil.
Right.
Doesn't believe it's a devil, believes it's an underling. Then they start bringing out like kind of like artifacts from the cult, like this dagger that they bring out onto the table. And also then Carmichael, so we've already seen Christou is now off and we've seen him like be possessed.
Yeah.
Carmichael also now grabs this knife and he's like, I didn't know if it was going to be real or not. Kudos, because of what's happened to Christou. I thought that Carmichael actually did have a possessed knife for a second, for a split second at least. You know, that I got to give him his performance for that, and direction.
Well, fair enough, but then it always makes me question, why is this skeptic guy so good at acting?
Very well observed. Yeah. I didn't know if it was real. So kudos to both of those. Then Lily then decides to bring up a character called Mr. Wriggles.
Yeah.
Someone or something that wriggles into her body and her brain.
Which is what this, possession
and
calls itself.
Yeah, and we'd mentioned...
She calls it.
Yeah, she calls it Mr. Wriggles because it wriggles into her brain. And I'd mentioned the kind of like the hype man Gus, the band leader almost, of the late night talk show, the foil, should I say. He's been playing a theremin earlier on in the show. And now all of a sudden, to show powers, Abraxas / the underling of Abraxas / Lily then makes the theremin attack Gus, which again was a bit which I thought, oh, this is really stupid.
Bizarre. That was really dumb.
As well as the electrical theremin malfunction, the glasses on the table then start to break.
Yeah.
And Carmichael debunks it, saying it's all being fed through this amp
hang
or
on,
whatever.
Is this not also the bit... So the two chairs have been brought out for the Doctor and Lily, right?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
No, there's an electrical theremin, glass on the table break. Carmichael debunks it, and then Lily starts to say, no, Carmichael, Mr. Wriggles was doing all of that, and it's coming through Lily, and then all of a sudden Lily makes electric run through above the audience in the structure of the place, and he's coming through Lily, and Jack decides after this that he wants a demonstration when they come back. June is kind of fighting the idea. Lily really wants to show off Mr. Wriggles. And the audience start getting behind it.
Does she, or is Mr. Wriggles just already controlling
Lily
her?
/ Wriggles, and the audience obviously want to see it. And Jack's like, the people have spoken. We go to another break, and because June's like, okay, I'll do it, but I need to set conditions for the crew, the audience, everybody around, kind of thing. And all of a sudden Jack's like, come back as we attempt to commune with the devil, but not before a word from our sponsor. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, a word on sponsors, right? When they go from the set to a break and then back into the show, I didn't like the AI place cards when we go back into the show, or the advertisement place cards. It just didn't seem like a real 70s thing. It felt like it was made on a computer.
I don't remember exactly what we're talking about, but... Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
can I just mention here at this point with Dr. June then? So this goes back to what I was saying about her character just being very cliche and one-dimensional, because you know, she's got the face and she's acting like she says like, oh, I love Lily, she's not just my patient, like I feel like a mother to her and I want the best for her. But then she's just so easily convinced to do this thing on TV in front of people.
I guess you've got a small budget, you've got to fit movie into an hour and 20 minutes, get on with it.
Well, no, but she could just have different motivations, because her motivations don't make any sense. He's like, oh, don't you want to show people that, you know, it's real? And she's like, oh, well, I guess, and if I can control the environment, if I can control the environment, which you just mentioned, but she is apparently like a PhD holding parapsychologist. She must understand at this point that even if you put down rules that these people are supposed to follow, there's no way to tell that 100 people in the audience are actually going to do what you wanted them to.
Are you saying also that her motivations, why would she even be on the show if she didn't want to, you know, reveal it all?
Yeah, I don't buy the character. I think there's something like, a darker, more sneaky side that should have been put in, but it just didn't fit her actions, and what they try and make the character don't go to me. You can still have someone who comes across as really sweet, but then has just that little bit of greed in them, or something like greed for fame or money or whatever it might be.
Well, she's having the affair with Jack, isn't she? So she is sort of a bad guy, and is I guess it's not. I guess that side of it's not shown too much, apart from the fact that we know that she's with Jack Delroy.
I just think they could have made it way more interesting and believable.
When it's now that we're going to get a demonstration after we come back, we're going to get another backstage bit where June asks for restraints. So we know that now Lily's going to have to be restrained into whatever position she's going to be in. Even Gus, then the band leader, comes up to Jack and warns him that he doesn't know what he's messing with. He doesn't understand, and also Das Malkin's like, I'm trying to save our fucking show, kind of thing. And now I'm like, okay, David S. Malkin's dropped the nicey TV presenter shtick, and he's showing that he is a bit of an arsehole backstage. And I thought the acting was superb, because all of a sudden, I probably, without sounding like, too floppy about it, I believe what he was doing then, which then the acting is so good at that point. That's why I started to question everything that he was doing as Jack Delroy. Was it a conscious choice, or was he just, for me, more Penguin, not TV presenter like miscast? Because it was just strange how backstage he kind of like came a bit more alive. And when he went out onto the stage, he was kind of playing up to the audience, and I felt like stuff was weighing on his back more.
Yeah, I guess you clearly saw it that way, so you can see it that way. I thought it was probably quite clear from quite early on that he even from that interview that they showed with him and his wife that was highly rated and stuff, I got the feeling from him already that he wasn't like 100% committed and stuff, so so I didn't feel like that was much of a switch, and if anyone is going to be, you say the cynical one who tricked everyone with the knife thing, and I said, why would a regular person be such a good actor? If any of the characters in this are allowed to be really good performers, it's the TV show host, Das Malkin. So he should be able to completely be like you know, the exuberant presenter and be the bastard backstage.
But he's not the exuberant presenter, in my opinion, though.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. So that's why I didn't think the performance was as good as it should have been.
So do you not think it was an actor's choice to make the character like that, as in,
Well, if it was, I think it was the wrong one.
wrong one, yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. But
I'm still getting a feeling with
so I
this.
still think he's a good actor. I just feel like...
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do think he's a good
definitely
actor, but I feel like with this, it's actually very similar to what we said with Hugh Grant. I just think it might be slight miscast.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, he always plays like a very different kind of character, which suits him better. I don't know.
Because I was thinking about his acting so much when I saw the backstage kind of like arsehole switch compared to what was on there. As with everything, and lots of actors, I was thinking about, Heathen. I was like, yeah, he would suit a character in Heathen, like the way that he looks, the way he acts, the way he sounds, all that kind of stuff. So it's not like I think he's a terrible actor, or not even close to it. I think he's a good actor. It's just that, there was something about, possibly just the casting or just decisions. There was just something there, it just wasn't right for me. Yeah, unfortunately. But something I did like as well at this point backstage, when we finally see the end of, I believe, Jack Darrow's conversation with Gus about not knowing what he's dealing with, it had a black and white split screen of just showing Lily on the set still, and it was like, he doesn't know what he's dealing with because we know that something's coming. I just really liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
Again, it didn't fit with the format, but yes.
It doesn't fit with the format, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is, we are being very nitpicky, but that's what we're like. Yeah, if you're going to lay out, this is from 1977, you've got to go that way.
I don't think it is that nitpicky, though, because it literally affected every second of the viewing experience for me. And that's what ruined this, because
Yeah, we're perfectionists.
It's just such a glaring... Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, once we're back outside now, Lily is strapped down. We start to have the June and Lily possession scene, and Lily is put under and asked to speak as Wriggles. And there's quite a good thing of when she starts going in the chair, when she comes up and reveals herself, she's got a very mannish face. Do you notice that when she's possessed, it's a mannish face? I see a huge difference there, because she's quite like, oh, hello, I'm the girl next door. Then you're like, what the hell is this now? Gross. Like that. She forced to speak Mannish. And we also, of course, we get warp voice when she's speaking, because when you're possessed, you get warp voice and possibly black stuff coming out of your face.
Unless you're in imaginary, in which case the possessed things have your voice instead.
we then get the part when she's possessed and she turns to Jack, who's kind of like sitting away in the background.
Yeah.
And she's like, good to see you again, Jack. And he's like, I don't believe we've been acquainted. He's like, don't be a fool. We met amongst the tall trees, and we know they're alluding to the secret society, clearly.
Right.
Yeah. She then also says to June, be careful, his last whore died an ugly, ugly death. So it's alluded now that Jack has something to do with Maddie/Minnie's death, which has already been alluded to somewhat. And she's like, now that she's gone, now you got rid of Madeline, Minnie, you're free to screw whoever you want, isn't that right? And there is something at the beginning when Madeline is on the show suffering from cancer.
Yeah.
And she alludes to the first time she met Jack, and there's loads of naked bodies around him. Almost like she was introduced to him at the secret society.
Well, she was a dancer or something along those lines, wasn't she?
So she was
she was
invited there
that,
anyway.
Right, I thought it was like he went backstage and saw all these
I was getting
dancer
more,
bodies.
I was getting more of a secret society, like she was.
Like
just
I said, I
in.
couldn't pay full attention to the story, so you might be right.
She says, yeah, and then she starts making a nursery rhyme, Lily, about, Jack and June up the hill were made out or some shit like that. June ends up slapping Lily kind of out of it, but not quite.
That was really weird as well. I didn't see that as being, like, again, it doesn't go with what this character is portraying so far, that she loves her, and don't get me wrong, I know that people can say one thing, like say I love you, but then be capable of, slapping you or whatever, which she does. But it wasn't that I'm saying the character says those things only, but the way she acts and everything, like she's so caring for Lily, but then... And one of the conditions is like, oh, everyone has to be quiet and not distract Mr. Wriggles. I need to be able to have pure contact with Lily. And again, I was like, well, that's really careless. As a doctor with a patient, to expect an audience to see someone get possessed when this is so not what they normally see, and to remain silent, you are asking for trouble.
Yeah, I guess you are. When she slaps her, we think she's kind of knocked out of it, but she's not, because then the chair starts to levitate. Lily again reveals that she knows the secret society that Jack is involved in. Once all this is over and it kind of like gets back to normal, Carmichael is still absolutely not having, because now he's offering like $500,000 to anyone who has irrefutable proof of the paranormal. And we go to a backstage bit, and also Carmichael, like backstage, he is incensed. He is absolutely incensed that Jack Delroy would go to these depths, right? That's what he's thinking.
I actually think Carmichael was my favourite performance of all of them. It's quite straightforward, but you have to be committed and do it well. And I think he did. He pulled it off.
The first time I watched it twice over. Carmichael, I'd lumped in with everybody else. I was like, this is a bit like just yat. But then I watched it a second time, and I think there is something about the performances the second time I was getting it a bit more. I did enjoy it a bit more, right? Carmichael's not having it. He's incensed, right? So they then unstrap Lily out on the set because the demonstration, is over. And June backstage then asked Jack, what did she mean by seeing you amongst the tall trees?
Right.
And Jack, as a non-believer, is kind of like, well, I don't know, she could have just said that, anything. And Junie's like, no, this is not a parlor trick. If Lily says that you're amongst the tall trees and I know you, then there is something to it. Which is one of the things in the script which I really liked.
Okay.
That's the kind of thing, if she's saying this, it's true. So I'm catching you out. And I thought, there is something really that's going to come here. It also backstage, it's mentioned that 3 crew have now walked.
Yeah,
because they can't handle what's going on, and we're back to Lily unstrapped outside. Carmichael decides he's going to prove to everybody what has just happened here. So he takes Gus, and as his foil, and he's going to hypnotize him. Essentially, right?
Yeah.
Tells him to look into my little pocket watch clock, and it has the classic black and white swirly image going round and round. And there's this, he starts to ask, like, Gus what he doesn't like. He's like, I hate worms or whatever, stuff like this.
Yeah.
Ends up, worms then start coming out of Gus's ear.
So
and
first
he says it's got itchy.
It's a neck thing.
Yeah.
Then they, like, burst out of his guts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, worm hypnosis by Carmichael. And once Gus stands up, he's like, oh, my skin's so itchy. And he bursts his stomach open. All these worms fall out. It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
And everyone is freaking out. Jack Delroy, June, Lily's watching it thinking, oh, this is fantastic kind of thing.
She's loving it.
She's
Everyone
loving
else is
it.
grossed out. And she's like,
And the majority of the crowd are also like thinking, what the hell is going on? I thought it was, I like the effect. It was grim.
Disgusting.
It was so
what you want in a horror movie, isn't it?
So that was another kudos moment.
I was a bit confused though as to like what's going on, because we know that
I like that surreal bit of it.
Not going to be able to do this kind of thing.
And I wasn't mad at the explanation either, because it's a movie. So if he says, I'm a former magician and I've kind of hypnotized all of you, I can believe that in a horror film.
No, this I found ridiculous, because he's like, right, audience, people on the couches behind me, people watching through their TV, like, watch this and I'm gonna like hypnotize you. And he said it was a group hypnosis, so basically all this worm stuff never happened. And I was like, no, the fact that like one person in the audience is like, oh, I didn't get hypnotized, I was like, no.
Group hypnosis right through television, I know you never watched it, it's before your time. Chris Angel, mind freak! Yeah, Chris Angel, mind freak.
Right.
He would play a trick, and then there'd be a segment of him just looking into the camera going, look into my eyes. Feel the power, do you feel it? Clench your fists. And when you open your fists, we will be connected. And I tried that, I wasn't connected.
You weren't?
No, I wasn't.
No,
it didn't work. But it might have worked on millions around the world who were watching Chris Angel Mind Freak.
Hypnosis has to do with a certain mindset, doesn't it? You have to want to be like, it's yourself convincing yourself in a way.
It's a bit like
a psychology type thing.
The kinesiology thing. You have to.
No one knows what the hell you're talking about.
You have to want it.
But so because hypnosis is not the way that it's always portrayed in movies. It's not like hypnotized people, as far as I'm aware, are ever like fully under, like, you
what
can
about
tell them to
Darren
do
Brown
anything.
and sleep?
That Darren Brown is insane.
Yes, very impressive.
But yeah, I didn't like that all of them. I feel like there should have been it wouldn't have taken away either. If
Again,
there'd been a few more people who hadn't been hypnotized.
Television group hypnosis. I brought up Chris Angel Mind Freak. Just brought up Darren Brown. Darren Brown also did one where he would say, right, viewers at home, if you're sitting in your chair, you are sinking deeper into your chair, deeper, deeper, deeper. Now your legs feel like, 10 tons and you can't get up. And again, it didn't work on me. I was able to easily get up. But apparently people around the UK were saying, oh, I was stuck in my chair I was because I looked in Darren Brown's eyes.
Yeah, because if you convince yourself that what you're saying is going to be true, then you're essentially sending that signal to your body, so it's going to do that. But you have to have a certain level of like, right, I want to be hypnotized.
Yeah, you'll never get me, Darren.
Yeah, because you're going in to be like, yeah, try it, Darren, try it. Of course it's
I think it's good enough to get me if you wanted to. Yeah. So worm hypnosis, right now, once it's revealed that it's not real, Carmichael says, let's play it back. Or is it Daryl that says, let's play it back and see what's happened? Because everyone in the crowd has been hypnotised by like 2, 3 or 4 members. Mm-hmm. And they play it back and it's just Gus kind of like being suggested to by Carmichael about what's happening.
Yeah, and Carmichael's telling everyone, okay, now, worms are coming out of his gut and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're seeing that was in fact a trick. And I was like, that's a bit too much.
Now that it's been played back and debunked by Carmichael... Lily / Mr. Wriggles is getting really excited, and Lily's like, oh, let's play Mr. Wriggles back. Let's play Mr. Wriggles back.
Yeah.
And did they decide to?
Yeah.
They decide to play Mr. Wriggles back, and then all of a sudden, Electric Lily just appears. You know what I mean about Electric Lily?
I kind of don't remember how this one ends, I'll be honest. I remember the very, very end, but I don't know how we got there.
They decide to play back Mr. Wriggles, the scene, and I'm forgetting about what happened with the playback of that, but all of a sudden, Lily is now Electric Head, and she is Abraxas / underling of Abraxas, and is like shooting electric around the place and like setting people's faces on fire and stuff like that. And when she turns into Electric Head, Jack Delroy looks at Electric Head like he's seen it before. So clearly this thing has been amongst the trees, the tall trees, in this secret society.
Okay.
Because, essentially Jack Delroy has sold his soul in a society to try and be number one in the chat show host market.
Right, yeah, they say that, don't they? That he has...
Yeah. And once again, I laughed a couple of times because all of a sudden Electric Head brought it down for me again. I'm like... I could accept the worms. I like the worms, but Electric Head Lily, it was too far for me.
I think actually what they said, now that I'm remembering, is that he had to pay a price for the fame, basically, and that price ended up being his wife.
Yeah.
But then that wasn't enough. So
no.
And this was really weird because we now get Dastmalchian through various previous
it's very Twin Peaks
episodes
style.
Of his own show, but
nowhere near as good.
But he's acting out what is going on kind of thing.
Yeah, he's in a fantasy land. He's being tricked.
It was I didn't really get what they were trying to do.
What they're doing is they're going over what he's done to get himself in this unfortunate position and how his wife has died, and they're just trying to show it in a surreal manner.
Right.
Yeah. And again, I really like the idea. It wasn't pulled off as well as times I've seen it before in other movies or TV shows, right? We also now have the re-emergence of the owl people, and it's like ma ma ma. That was again not cool, not cool. The weirdness execution wasn't there for me, and Electric Head Lily wasn't there for me. But a lot of the films I liked, apart from Ghost Watch 1992 with Parky and Craig Charles from Red Dwarf. This is a reasonably original. That's why I'm not mad at it, because I'm always complaining about seeing the same thing over and over and over again. There were certain things that just weren't pulled off to my liking, our liking, right?
I was also bored though.
I wasn't bored.
I was.
I was quite engaged with all the dialogue, to be honest.
I think maybe as well I didn't really care about Dastmalchian's character, so...
No, and I think the intro is a problem with that. I'd wish they just put us into the show and maybe just had a blank card just saying what you're about to see is so forth, right? We don't need the whole intro. I think it just takes away any kind of mystery about him possibly, or just anything like that about him. If we had just been dumped into the show with him, I think I might have even kind of liked his performance as the chat show host a bit more, possibly.
Yeah.
I really think the intro took away from it.
Yeah, maybe you're right about that, but I don't know. I found it quite difficult to get through, and then it
was
ends
like an hour and 20 minutes
when
long.
he gets out of this weird Twin Peaksy style,
Surrealist,
back catalogue
yeah.
of his own show. He then comes to, and he's like, what? He's murdered everyone around him.
Yeah, I think
Was that what they were saying?
I think yeah, because you hear the police sirens in the background coming to the studio.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is, while he's been having this surrealist moment, reliving his past shows where he's actually there questioning, why am I here? I've been here before. I've already done this.
Yeah.
In that time, I believe, in his trance, he's probably taken out the crew and the guests and the audience.
Yeah.
And now the police are coming to get him. And because he sold his soul to the tall trees people and the owls, and it's backfired on him, this is now what's happening to him. But essentially, don't sell your soul. Abraxas has got it in for
You'll
him.
never win.
Yeah. I mean, I love the occult, as you well know.
Yeah.
I love anything to do with, Anton LaVey types. That was all in there. I think I liked a lot of the elements of the film, and I do like the premise. I really enjoyed the premise. Again, at the beginning, to have a psychic, then a former magician who's now a skeptic, and now an occult book writer who has. I like all of those points of it. I really did enjoy that. For me though, like you say, the aspect ratio didn't add to the movie, and the set dressing is very brown and orange, which is 70s, but I feel like it wasn't 70s. They should have filmed it a little bit more with
grain. This is what I said right at the
that.
start.
I know,
yeah,
that's what I'm getting at.
It wasn't. It's not enough to do that.
No, and the problem is, I still enjoyed this film. I did enjoy this film. I don't think it's a bad film. I would even watch this film again, unlike Heretic, because there's something about that intrigues me. But the fact is, once again, it's been reviewed through the roof. Like, oh, this is amazing.
I just can't believe we disagree so strongly, because I really didn't like this.
Yeah, normally we do. Well, but we did agree about a lot. We are completely, the thing that took the movie away from you, which is the whole backstage thing and the way it was filmed. I completely agree with that. Like I said, though, I could just.
But there wasn't really anything shining through from that either for me.
I wouldn't even. It's not a slow burn, because the movie's not long enough to be a slow burn. But I was intrigued, and unlike you, I was enjoying Lily as well. When Lily comes in, the movie's refreshed for me again, because I'm enjoying Lily so much.
Well, I was waiting for that finally. I mean, again, having the two guests beforehand, I was like, this is taking way too long.
And I love the worms. You
should have had, for example, you could have brought all of the guests out at once and still had them have their time, but at least there might have been a bit more friction going on. I just felt like it was taking too long.
There's a lot
to get into it.
That could be added in. Yeah, there was the problem as well at the beginning when it was showing Jack Delroy doing his shtick. The shtick was so bad that I just wish it didn't go on for so long. It was too much of it, and too much of the intro. But yeah, I still like this. I think maybe it's a polarizing movie. So if you're a horror fan, I'd say, and you're a little bit jaded and you're looking for something you haven't quite seen before, apart from Ghostwatch with Parky, this might do something for you, because I'm someone who gives a bit of originality. It ups the level for me more. So yeah, I'll give it number 2. You give it number 3. Maybe we'll watch it again sometime and you'll reassess your opinion possibly, or just double down on it. But let's get into what is now both of our number 1, something we can agree on. Number 1 was Oddity. So I said I've enjoyed all these movies actually. So did you enjoy these movies, or are you just putting Oddity number 1 because the other two weren't quite up to par for you?
I really did not like Late Night with the Devil. We've just gone through. Heretic didn't bother me. I was fine watching it, and I was kind of, some bits really interested me and some bits were a bit of a letdown. But it was, yeah. And this one, I don't think I'd watch it again, because I didn't enjoy it in that way, but I was interested throughout the whole film.
That's also very strange. I just said I'd watch Late Night with the Devil again because it intrigues me. I'll put Oddity number 1, but I wouldn't necessarily watch it again.
Yeah, I think no, but that's still, that can happen. It can still be a better film, but you don't necessarily need to see it again.
So Oddity, we got a few characters: Dr. Ted, his wife Danny, and sister Darcy. And what we open is the wife Danny at home in this kind of secluded house, and she's alone. She's doing stuff around the house, and what we do see is her closing from below a trap door at one point. Right, husband Ted, the doctor, is working late night shifts. While Danny is at home alone, she calls her sister on the cell phone and leaves a message and says we'll be connected at one time or another. She then calls her husband saying, we should probably meet up with Darcy, my sister, because it's been a while, and it turns out that she's blind.
We're worried about her health. She's
Absolutely.
got I think, cancer of some form, or something we find out later on.
Yeah, and that's kind of like essentially the opening, and then we're left with Danny at home while her husband's on the late shift, and all of a sudden this weird-eyed guy turns up at her house.
Do you know what I think is also worth mentioning, though? Because I do, so I'm gonna mention it. You say, you know, that Danny's at home, but technically,
Okay.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's clear that they've just invested in a property that needs a ton of renovation. Like, it probably wasn't even a residential building. And so this trapdoor, like, she's clearly just fitted it or whatever, which was my first thing. I was like, why has she put a trapdoor there?
Of course, it's noted straight away, yeah, there's a trapdoor here.
Why? There's no stairs. There's nothing underneath it, just the stone floor of the room below. But anyway, so she's in a very empty...
Karin always has questions.
There's no heating or anything yet, you know, and she's staying over there at the building, but she's set up a tent, essentially. She's camping inside the building because it's bare.
And she set her camera up on the table.
Yeah, because she wonders whether such an old building will be haunted.
Yeah.
So her sister had
Good idea.
suggested she put her camera on a timer to take a snap every few seconds.
Yeah, looks like my camera. And yeah, so the weird-eyed guy now shows up at the house. He's like looking for a little latch. And he has two different coloured eyes. He's kind of like got scraggly hair, and he looks a bit out of it. And he says to Danny that he saw someone enter the house, and he needs to come in and investigate. And obviously, she's not going to let some weird-eyed dude into a house just like that. So she has her own questions for him. And she also tries to warn him off, saying, "My husband will be home soon, so you better leave." He's like, "No, I know that your husband works late nights, so he's not going to be back. You need to let me in so that I can go and sort this out." He also said that he's overheard a conversation from where he's just come from as to why this is happening, and the conversation was one of the conversationists was her husband.
Has he said that already?
Possibly
I don't
not.
remember
Maybe I'm
that
just
being
working
said
it
at
out.
all. I think it was just revealed what happens right at the end of the movie. But it turns... No, so what we do...
I've written it right at the beginning, so I must just be inferring it. I'll just be watching and thinking, "Oh, right,
what we
so this is
do
what's
find
going
out
on."
from him is that he was a patient of her husband's.
Yes.
And her husband's obviously working in a psychiatric ward of some kind, so she's a bit, like, on edge. And also, he's not doing himself any favours, because it is kind of left to the viewer at this point, do we believe him or do we not believe him? And of course, we're supposed to, I guess, not really believe him, because he's got the different eyes, he looks scraggly. But for me, the biggest giveaway was when he's
Police
looking
thing?
through looking through the peephole, which is massive. It's like a sliding one.
Yeah, it's a latch thing, yeah.
He's doing that thing where he's like getting his fingers in to like try and like look around like that, and he looks like a complete nutter.
He's anxious to save her.
Yeah, but I was like,
It's reminiscent of Brad Dourif at the beginning of Urban Legend, when he's a stuttering gas attendant.
very much. They're trying to help, but they're actually just coming across as completely nuts.
What kind of gave it away for
and
me that
she's
he's a
lost
good
her
guy?
phone, by the way, because when he says...
Or her phone's in the car, right?
No, I think she's actually lost it, because at the one point she's like, "Okay, you're freaking me out. Go away or I'll call the cops." At which point he's like, "Yeah, call the cops."
See, this is what made me then believe he
him.
was legit, because he doesn't give a damn that she wants to call the cops. He's like, "That's a good idea."
Like, yeah, do it.
And then she asked him if he has a phone. Of course he doesn't. Weird-eyed guy. No weird-eyed guy has
he's
a
just
phone.
gotten out of a mental institution, I
Yeah,
guess, hasn't he?
and then it's kind of left at that, isn't it, almost? Or she asked him, "If you come in, what would you do?" And da-da-da.
So yeah, it cuts off as we see her like, with her hand on the door to let him in.
Before we leave the scene with the funny-eyed guy and Danny,
Yeah.
I just want to say that it was, again, great use of the dark, of him like coming in and out of shot of his eye from the dark, and the way that he then like goes out of it, really like, effectively done.
And the actual bone structure of the building was used really effectively, because there's like little alley nooks and stuff that you're like, what's in the dark?
Yeah, we kind of like go into the future, a year ahead, right? Something like this.
Yeah.
And we are we don't go straight ahead straight away. Instead, we go to the psychiatric unit, and there's a guy, Declan, the artist. He's in his cell, and he's like drawing. He has drawings all over his cell of just this weird being and weird people, black and white, kind of like charcoal drawings it look like. And he starts hearing a voice outside his cell.
This is not in the hospital. I was wondering that as well, but it's got a door. This is in like one of those halfway house.
Halfway house, that's it. Yeah.
So when they've just been released.
Declan's in a halfway house.
Yeah.
As is the character Odin, who is the weird-eyed guy, who we've seen bothering Danny. There's all this commotion going outside, so like Declan hides underneath his bed because there's all this like weird noises happening.
He opens the door, doesn't he?
Looks
And
at what's
he sees
happening.
something that terrifies him.
Yeah.
And he goes and hides under his bed.
He decides that after like he thinks the danger is over, he's to inspect, and on the floor just this body, but with its head completely smashed in to pieces, like goo, almost.
And then we get a close up of Odin's fake eye.
Yeah, so we know it's Odin that's had his face smashed in, but by whom we don't know. Now
Something scary.
Yeah, now we're back with Dr. Ted, who is Danny's wife, or widow now.
Husband, widower.
Widower.
Yeah.
I'm giving it away again, aren't I? Because we don't know that Danny is even gone yet, do we?
Yeah, I think we do at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's very quickly brought up when... is this the bit when he goes to visit the sister in the shop?
Danny goes to the Oddities store.
So it turns out Darcy, Danny's sister, has like an antiques shop. Mm-hmm. She collects things, and she's sat in a chair when he enters, and she's like sort of caressing one of those old bell caller thingies.
Like we're in at reception. Ding ding, you need some attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we mentioned obviously she's blind. Mm-hmm. So she has this Oddity store which was handed down to her by her mother. It's in the daytime. Now, I just wanted to interject here that when Ted comes into the Oddity store, we get the dring dring entrance bell, which is so typical. I've got the same thing in Heathen because we have a pawn shop where the character Renee resides on Earth. And again, I'm an advocate of night shooting because I think I'm gonna overlay it. Our pawn shop, our store is much more effective than what this one is. If you have a blind character who has an Oddity store, you should have her sitting in the dark because she's blind, for one thing. And
how would her customers see anything?
But that's it, candlelight. You use the candlelight instead. He just walks in.
Yeah, also, it doesn't have to be that hard of a push because here in, Europe, at least our part of Europe, it can get dark very early in the winters. So it doesn't have to be past, like, closing hours. It can still be just...
Yeah, exactly.
During the day.
Or it could just be winter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Once Ted
what I'm saying.
Once Ted comes in, he reveals himself to Darcy. She's quite happy to see him. They embrace, they hug, and she's like, it's almost been a year since Danny passed away, and she then starts telling him the story of this bell, and apparently it's haunted by a deceased evil bellboy, a bellhop.
Yeah.
Right, and obviously Dr. Ted, being a man of science, doesn't believe in this kind of like hogwash. But he's turned up for a reason. He's brought her, as requested, the eye of Odin.
Yes. Okay, this is one thing now that we know the rest of the story.
Oh, but we also know at this point that Declan, the artist, is also dead. It's mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, just put it out there. He's dead. Dead Declan.
I don't remember that mattering, though. But anyway...
maybe it doesn't.
I find it strange, now that we know, because we've watched the film, what ends up happening. I was like, would Ted have even bothered doing that for Darcy? Like, he would have had to go to a little bit of trouble to steal this deceased man's fake eye.
Because what's also strange about that is, he's delivering the eye to Darcy. Not long after this, Darcy turns up at his house... And she says when she gets out the taxi, I forgot what a journey it was to get here. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like then implied that he's made quite the journey just to go and hand her the eye.
Yeah, that too. But obviously, did we say already she's like a psychic? So she's like touching the bell thing.
She can
being,
read
like,
objects.
Yeah, so we find that out a little bit later as well. And also during this first meeting in the shop when the eye is passed over to her, which now, I said, I'm questioning whether that character would have brought her the eye in the first place. But it has to happen for the rest of the film to work.
When you read through Heathen for me, were you questioning every little scene that I wrote to make sure that it all...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I've been harshly critiqued.
And she says during this meeting, she's like, it's the anniversary of my sister's death, your wife's death in like 2 days, let's say. Mm-hmm. Could we have
meet up.
dinner and reminisce. I feel like I need to talk about her. And he kind of mentions in passing that he's already got a new partner. And not only has he got a partner, but they're actually living together at that property that his wife was doing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which obviously Darcy is a bit shocked by.
Yeah. When I've mentioned that Declan passes away as well at the halfway house as Odin. And it's because Ted then badmouths both of them, or at least Odin, because Darcy believes that Odin killed her sister Dany. That's the whole reason she's been bought the eye. So yeah, she's requested the eye because she believes that Olin killed her sister. So
wait, Olin or Odin?
Olin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Olin. His name is Olin because
that makes a bit more sense because Odin, that's pretty badass.
Yeah. Yeah, Olin. I just want to say at the end of it, I've written our lighting, our filming, much richer of a pawn shop. Like I say, I'm going to overlay it all in here. I did almost
You're going to overlay it.
Yeah, you will. And they also when they're in the Oddity store, they do the still cut, which I enjoy, which is also in our pawn shop. We have still image, cut, still image, cut, still image. Very effective stuff. Great stuff. So now, as you just mentioned, Dr. Ted is now living with his new moaning woman, Yana, and she's like, "You're always working late. I can't sleep. I found your wife's camera. Ted, what's going on here?" Yeah, I don't know why he's dumped Dany, or got rid of Dany for this. Very annoying she is. But yeah, she says she can't sleep in this house alone because of what's gone on, kind of thing.
Well, she seems to be, plagued by the spirit of his ex-wife.
Of Dany. Yeah, because as I just mentioned, she's found Dany's camera.
Yeah.
And she's been looking through it. And all of a sudden Ted gets a bit sheepish at this news. And Yana tells Ted to come and have a look at this particular photo. She's like, look at that. That is Dany. And Ted says, "Oh, well, it was Dany's camera. Of course, she's going to be in some of the pictures." But then Yana says, no. I took this photo like today or last night. And she believes that that's Dany, his ex-wife, haunting the camera or the house at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ted then says, "Double exposure. It's got to be double exposure, or if it's not double exposure, what is it?
Ball
lightning. Yeah, it's got to be ball lightning. If you know, you know." So it's the last night. She says she was going to bed and she saw an apparition in the hallway. And then Ted is like, "I hear enough crazy at work without coming home to it. Ouch." Oh, Ted with the stingers there.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like much of a catch.
He's not a caring doctor either, is he?
No.
He's not a caring doctor. And he then says, "You sound like her sister with ghosts and nonsense." Speaking of her sister, she's outside. She just turns up outside, doesn't she? Like Darcy is there straight after this conversation. Ted is like, "What the hell is she doing here?"
Not before Yana reveals to Ted that a gift was sent ahead of a chest with a lock on it.
Yes, and Ted is surprised, and so he goes outside and is like, "What are you doing here?" And she says, "Well, matter of factly, you invited me last week," obviously knowing full well that it was a fake invitation. So we know that she's turned up for a very particular reason. And it's the day now of Dany's death anniversary. So Yana and Ted now try to blow her off. Like, "You can't stay here. I'm going to be at work. I'm going to be at work." All this kind of stuff. But Darcy says, "I'm here now. I'm staying." And, even though she's told that they won't be here, she goes, "Oh, that's all right." She doesn't really care.
Well, she's saying that she wants to feel her sister's spirit on the anniversary, and obviously her sister passed away there, so maybe she feels like, "Oh, I'll feel something." One bit we did forget to mention that's happened before all of this, because it's the reason all of this happens now, is we get a moment of Darcy sitting on her own. She lights the candle, she sets the mood, and she gets out the handkerchief with the eye in it. And she said to Ted that the whole reason she wanted this eye, as we mentioned, she can sense things when she touches them, and she wanted to feel or try to understand what Olin had been thinking at the moment of her sister's
untimely
offing.
death.
Yeah. And so she set the scene, she unwraps the kerchief, And with that expectation in mind, she touches it, and we can see that she's feeling stuff and she's reacting. But is it what she was expecting to think? Or is something being revealed to her?
I actually felt it was obvious from the first Oddity shop visit by Ted what was going on.
What, the whole...
It wasn't
it wasn't
hidden well.
a big surprise,
if
no,
it was supposed to
for
be.
sure.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Darcy has preemptively sent a trunk to the house, and it contains this giant mannequin doll golem thing.
Yes.
And it was her mother's, and she says, Darcy, that it's a gift to you. And of course, Yana doesn't want it because it's this big, freaky...
It's hideous.
mannequin. Why would she want us to have that, she asks. And she finds it weird. I'm like, yes, fair enough.
But also, I was really confused because right at the end of the film, they say, oh, it's a wooden mannequin doll, whatever it is. So it's made of wood. There was no point in the film where I was like, oh yeah, that's made of wood.
No, it doesn't look like it's made of wood, does it?
Doesn't look like wood.
It's rather schmood.
Oh no, I didn't think it was smooth at all. It has all the like rivulets carved into it and stuff. I thought if anything it was supposed to be some sort of weird, like shriveled but oversized human. I thought it was supposed to be like dried skin.
I was getting schmood wood.
Which would have been cooler than wood.
Yana is complaining about Darcy staying because Ted essentially just relents and he's like, oh, well,
and then
I ain't going to be here anyway.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, and Yana thinks, so I'm going to be off to work as well.
No, she's going off for a night out on
night
the town.
out. And Darcy says, once Yana has kind of like seen this mannequin, Darcy steps into the room and she's like, oh, it's tradition on the 5th anniversary to give someone something made of wood, which Yana says, well, me and Ted aren't even married. Like, why have you bought this to us? I don't want it. Yada, yada, yada. And then Darcy reveals that a witch gave it to her mother.
Yeah.
And Darcy asked her if she likes it. It was pretty good. Yeah. Ted then, he's at work. We cut to Ted at work. And he's walking past a door, and we get to see into the door, and it's a guy sitting back to us. He has like leather strapping round his head, and that's kind of like, oh, what's that about then?
Grinding his teeth a bit and stuff, yeah.
And he's got strapping all over the head, and he's got. There's also been a bit at the beginning where we see, I think it was Declan outside on the rails of the psychiatric unit, and Ivan, the dastardly orderly, steps out and asks him, what the hell are you doing out here? And like kind of like someone's back in. You get straight away that this orderly is a bit of a
awful.
Total wrong'un.
Yeah, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest style.
Yeah, and it's this guy called Ivan who's working with Ted, and Ted now he's looking through Declan's disturbing drawings in his office,
right?
And he's like kind of like wondering, just what the hell is this guy drawing? Because the drawings somewhat look like the mannequin. Some of them do. Yeah, and back at the house now, Yana, she says, why did you take the mannequin out of the box?
Yeah, because it's sat at the table now.
It's no longer the trunk. It's sat at the table. It's kind of like arms like that, isn't it?
I was a bit confused by this as well, because when they first showed us like a kind of image of it in the box, it looked like it was a flattened, folded up kind of thing to me. And the box isn't that big. And then all of a sudden, if you're telling me it's made of wood as well, there's this massive wooden figure at the... I was like, what? Logical mind did not accept. Okay.
So how did your logical mind accept heathen then? So when he says, when did you take the mannequin out of the box, Darcy says, I didn't. Right? And obviously she's blind, so I mean, I guess Darcy does know that's out of the box because she has this kind of like clairvoyancy. And then Yana has now lost her keys, so she can't go out anymore. She gets very ratty to Darcy, and it turns out that she has to stay at the house now because, she can't leave without her keys, her car keys, house keys, all that kind of stuff.
I can't completely blame Yana though, because like Darcy is being a bit like, take the hint, woman, and she's not.
Darcy knowing what she knows, I mean, I can't blame any kind of...
No, I know, but from Yana's perspective, Yana doesn't think there's anything...
I'm also wondering, because I kind of like worked Ted out, does Ted loathe himself and he's got with Yana as like self-punishment? Because it's all just like that, isn't it? I feel like Danny was very sweet-hearted and kind, easygoing, and Yana, the complete opposite. So now that she has to stay, Darcy decides to question Yana about her and Ted. She's asking, like, were you two together before my sister passed away? She asked about the possible affair. She says that she has an Oddity store, but that's not her main source of income. Her main income is reading the objects, as we mentioned. And Yana becomes kind of offended because Darcy implies that she just met Ted at the hospital as a patient, whereas Yana then says, no, actually, I go around pharmaceutical companies, all this kind of stuff. And it's this whole kind of thing of, like, do you think I'm stupid? Do you remember that bit? And then she was like, do you think I look stupid? There's like all these blind jokes that go on now and again. And Yana then confides that she hates it in the house because of the death of Danny. And she reveals Olin Boone did not kill my sister to Yana.
Yeah, this bit was a bit strange as well, because when Yana then asks, well, if Olin didn't do it, then who do you think did? We then actually cut to...
A flashback.
A flashback. And I wasn't sure what that was supposed to mean, but apparently that was basically Darcy telling Yana that it was the orderly.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I know, but it didn't... bit clunky.
Slightly, yeah. We have a flashback to that night, and we see Olin leaving. So we see him leaving the house, and Danny gets into a tent, and she's still got her camera set up.
This really bugged me.
What, the tent?
Not in terms of filmmaking this time. This is back to my old classic of, like, if you want to survive, why would you do that? So...
As in, put yourself in a small space.
So we're back at the the opening scene with Danny in the empty building, and Olin is So we cut off just as she was about to let Olin in, and we re-enter the scene. She changes her mind. She's like, actually, I'm not going to let you in. I think you should leave. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go to the nearest town and call the police or whatever. And you stay by the door, and if you hear or see anything weird, just leave, right? And that was good advice. So she is clearly freaked out and maybe believes him. So she goes, she picks up, there's like a hammer, because work tools around, she picks up a hammer, and then she's like, oh, hang on, I have a camera rolling. If someone came through the door, I would be able to see it in the shots. But then this is where it just goes silly for me. She puts the hammer down, way out of her reach, leaves it there after having just picked it up, takes the camera, and goes and zips herself into this little tent, which is not right next to the door either or anything. So she's now in a completely vulnerable position, and she can't get out of it easily. How do you get out of a tent when someone's outside there attacking you? So I was like, that's stupid. You could have looked through the camera, stood by the door.
And when she's going through the camera in the tent, she does in fact find out that there is some
masked
lurking around the face.
Has come in, yeah.
So she decides to unzip the tent, and from the side, you got by the jump scare. This porcelain masked hooded figure reveals itself and just kind of stares at her and then bludgeons her to death.
And the next thing, we don't really see much of the actual violence. We just see him sat surveying the blood-soaked tent afterwards. But yeah, I was like, that could have been so easily avoided if you just, one, had kept the hammer, and two, hadn't locked yourself in a tent.
Yeah. Okay, that is worth questioning, to be fair, yeah.
I would never, would you ever, if you felt threatened and you're in this big space, would you then go and lock yourself in a little tent?
Yeah, I'll put myself in a cupboard or something.
And also, because the light's on in the tent and not outside, so you're literally making yourself a beacon who can't see anything.
Does your head hurt now? Yeah, so
annoying.
Once we see this is flashed back, it comes back to the conversation with Yana and Darcy, and Yana just asked the obvious question. So if you say Olin didn't kill her, then who did?
I thought we'd already said that. And and she says it's the orderly.
I've just no.
Because then Yana gets on the phone not long after to text.
Yana says, yeah, but we don't know yet straight away, like for definite, if it is him. So it does flashback.
No, it's just what Darcy says.
It does flashback, and Yana's like, if he didn't kill her, who did? I've written that at this point. Obvious, it's Ted.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I put. So now the sadistic orderly Ivan is at the psychiatric hospital talking to Olin, and it turns out that Olin has previously beaten his own mother to death. But the reason he's beaten his mother to death, I believe, if I remember correctly, is that his mother came for his eyes. And he's only got one good eye. So he, for some reason, his mum's attacking him, trying to take his eye.
I think what they were suggesting, again, I didn't get word for word, but I think what they were saying was that his mum was abusing him.
Yes.
And then he snapped and offed her. And that's why you are kind of supposed to sympathise with Olin. Because, again, there's a point when Ivan is like, oh, well, they shouldn't let someone like you out. And Olin is like, I'm not a threat to anyone. And you believe him. He doesn't seem like a threat at all, does he?
Yeah, so that's good acting, because he's made to look like a weirdo.
Yeah, of course.
But he's a very innocent. You do feel kind of bad for him, actually. Yeah. And also, when Ivan the Terrible is questioning him, he's like, Olin, is that with one eye or twos? Twos? One eye or two? And Olin's like, one eye. He's like, that should be easy to remember, because he's only got one eye, kind of thing. He tells him, you get back into bed. I don't want to see you out of your bed again, because Olin's supposed to be released that night. And that's like, as you just said, I was like, how can they let people like you out? At this point, I've written very Hellraiser 2, Hellbound Hellraiser 2. He's got Channard, the evil doctor who works in the psychiatry unit, keeps people in isolation and uses them for his own, sick, demented needs. So I liked that that inspiration, obviously, because Hellraiser 2 is the bomb. Right? So I like how dark that was. The movie's always cutting from place to place, and now we're back at the table with Yana and Darcy. Yana asks Darcy, how do you know this information? And
Is this also the bit where Darcy's fingering cheese?
Yeah. That sounds disgusting. And the reason she knows this is shown because she reveals to Yana the eye of Olin. That's how she knows. That's why she's got Ted to come and bring her this. So the sadistic orderly Ivan is now sitting with Ted in his doctor's office, and they're kind of just playing chess, having a whale of a time. And Ivan brings up, you never told me your wife had a blind twin. He says, well, how do you know that? He says, well, I ended up in an Oddity shop, and there I thought I was having a vision of your dead wife. It turns out that she has, a blind sister. And it goes on at my antique shop, and it kind of like, Ivan asks Ted to go away for a weekend. He's like, are you busy this weekend? Let's go away. I'm like, why the hell is Ivan asking Ted? I wasn't getting like homosexual kind of like character about him or anything like this. And I was like, clearly he's asked him to go away for a weekend so he can have his way with him in terms of murder.
Well, okay, so this was one other thing in the film that I can't explain. I don't think it is explainable, is the relationship between Ivan and Ted. I can't really go into it without revealing what happens, but I guess I might as well.
Yeah.
So obviously it turns out that it was in fact Ivan who killed Danny, but he did it because Ted wanted her dead. But there doesn't seem to be like, so Ted's not got anything on Ivan. He's not blackmailing him. They're not in a relationship, as you just mentioned. Like, that's not implied. Are they trying to imply that Ivan is just in love with Ted and do anything for him? Because that's not really shown either. But
I think
why is Ivan done this for Ted?
So that he's probably not committed, because I believe he was committed.
Oh yeah, you're right. So he was actually a patient. Yeah. And then Ted
gave
freed
him
him and gave
review.
him a...
So that's what he's got. So he does have blackmail over him, essentially. He's like, I'm going to let you out, but you've got to do this for me. Yeah. So once this weird conversation of Ivan inviting Ted away for the weekend kind of like ends, as I mentioned, they're playing chess. Once Ted turns him down, they have the conversation about his sister. Ivan kind of like just gets up and is like, checkmate, or whatever. And checkmates him. Very Hannibal Lecter. That is. They've got Hellraiser 2 styles here. Hannibal Lecter all out of this thing. So he leaves. Now, Yana now calls Ted to inform him that Darcy has told him that Ivan did it, and she has the eye.
Met him, and, I'm getting creeped out. She's saying stuff about us having a relationship before your wife had passed. So Yana's clearly very uncomfortable, and Ted's advice, basically, because she's lost her keys, so she can't leave and carry on with the plans. Ted's advice is just go and lock yourself in the room and go to bed, basically.
Once all this is revealed, we've been back at the house and kind of, I believe Darcy's kind of like asleep on the sofa or something, and Yana is up on the level above, and you can see the house is completely open, so you can see everything that goes on. When Yana's up on the balcony, she looks down, and all of a sudden, the mannequin has been looking up at her like this whole time. She kind of
That was good.
Yeah, very good. She kind of like recoils back and goes
Drops
back.
her phone.
And as she goes back, obviously the mannequin is back in its place. She goes down as Darcy is sleeping, and she goes and kind of inspects the mannequin, goes behind it and starts pulling all of these things
So
out
she
of its head.
notices it looks a bit like a bowling ball, but with 5 holes for the fingers. And she gets she just happens to have some super long tweezers, like aquarium tweezers. And
Maybe
she,
they're Ted's doctor tweezers.
just hanging around the house, maybe. Yeah. And she starts, fiddling around in one of the holes, and she pulls something out. And the first one is a photo, I believe, or the first 2 even are both photos.
Yeah, photo when they're old and young.
Of Darcy and Danny together. Then she pulls out a piece of script, I think, some writing, which I don't remember what it says. But then she pulls out a tooth, I want to say.
A blood vial, then a tooth.
And a blood vial. Now, at this point, Darcy wakes up and in,
no
pure
uncertain term,
rage,
sternly tells her to put them back.
Put them back! So again, she's blind, but somehow she knows
that
Yana's taken this stuff out. She has a connection with this mannequin. And this bit I found a bit strange, because if I was Yana, I'd already be really freaked out, obviously. Like, she's seen the mannequin thing, like, looking up at her and then not looking at her and all of this stuff. And now she's found... I mean, you don't have to be into anything to know that this is some kind of witchcraftian shit, right? There's blood and teeth and...
Well, as we said, it was given to her mother by a witch.
There's weird stuff in this mannequin. If I'd been told, if I was Yana, right, put that stuff back, there's no way I would put it back. And especially not as quickly and easily. She's like, yeah, fine, let me just put it... I was like, no, I would have, gotten rid of that stuff like that.
But then the mannequin might come alive and get you.
No, right. I think that's what gives it the impetus, isn't it?
Once Yana does put them away, she kind of leaves, and Darcy walks towards the table, and she just sits opposite the mannequin, plants her fingers tips down, and kind of looks at it, and it's kind of like, what would you say? Is she channeling it, something like this?
Yeah, I thought she was kind of sending almost like herself into the wooden thing. So what I imagined seeing was like Darcy's limp figure still there, and now the mannequin taking over. But that's not what happened.
Once Yana then gets up in the morning or in the middle of the night, and just Darcy's just still there, opposite.
Okay.
The mannequin.
Right, but what I was going to say, it can't be the next morning because it's the same night when Yana's like, right, I should follow Ted's advice and I will go to bed. So she gets into the bed, she gets the camera, and she's looking through pictures, and she, a scary image of dead Danny kind of appears.
No, she plays a video of Danny in a tent, and Ted is there next to her, but he's got something over his face, like a shirt, and Danny's like, oh, take the shirt off your face kind of thing. And for some reason, Yana watches the video again, but when it goes to Ted this time, it's like a dead face image.
And then she looks up from the camera and she sees
dead
a
Danny,
ghost.
Dead Danny telling her to run.
Yeah,
and
so
then
she
runs downstairs and she finds her keys in the trunk, the mannequin trunk, and she leaves. And as she's leaving, again, great use of the dark and the shadows. As she's leaving, in the window, porcelain face man is there, which we now know is Ivan, or because we've mentioned it, and because it's been mentioned in the movie as well, Darcy. So Ivan is just there. Like, why the hell is he there? Has he been instructed by Ted to go and sort this, check things out, or is he just now milling about the house willy-nilly? I just thought that was a nice touch.
Oh, I didn't actually notice that, and that kind of is weird because I'm sure that Ted and Ivan have a conversation the same evening and he's then at the property again, so that doesn't really make sense.
Possibly, but I still just enjoy porcelain face man in the dark.
But also, I did think it was interesting, so clearly Danny's spirit is actually there, and she doesn't seem to have a problem with Yana, because even, Darcy says at one point, oh, my sister was always more of the level-headed one. And because the thing is, Yana actually doesn't really have anything to do with Danny's death. Okay, yes, maybe there was an affair going on between her and Ted before Danny was off. But that's not the kind of thing that deserves a gruesome death by a wooden doll, is it?
Who am I to say?
So I guess Danny was like, yeah, get this girl out of here before something happens and just let the actual killers deal with it.
Did Declan deserve to die? Did Olin deserve to die? They can die.
But they weren't supposed to be deserving of death.
I'll say Yana can die for being very moany. Right, Ted comes home now, and he asks Darcy where Yana is.
Mm-hmm.
She's obviously fled, she ain't coming back, and questions her about Ivan. Darcy says she now reveals, Darcy, that she killed Olin herself. She knows.
Oh, right. She set her mannequin on Olin because she thought Olin had killed her sister.
Darcy says, it was her that killed Olin, and says that she's a danger to Ivan now, and requests to Ted that Ted send Ivan to the house so that she can finish him off, because Darcy is like upstairs on the trapdoor level of the house, kind of like just in a ball by herself, isn't she, when Ted finds her? Because she's distraught. So
it turns out from this eye that Darcy has figured out that it was Ivan, because she's seen that apparently from Olin's eye, which doesn't make sense because Olin's left by this point. But anyway, she's apparently seen that.
She's a reader of objects.
Doesn't yet know that it was under Ted's instruction. Right? So she is wondering, like, something's up with Ted, but she's not like, oh, Ted needs to pay. And Ted is like, right, you've got everything wrong, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to leave my phone here, go and call your doctor and get your doctor to call you to convince you of this or that. So he's like, please, when the phone rings, answer it. And we see him place it down. But as you just mentioned, she's on one side of this platform, the phone's on the other, and Ted has sneakily opened the trap door in between. So we get the scene of like the phone. He then, obviously, he's not gone to her doctor because it's Ted. He's calling her himself. And after a long time of wondering, like, is she going to answer or not? She does give in. She basically runs towards it and tumbles down the hole. And this is the bit I was going to say, because now Ted tells Ivan...
You're going a bit too far ahead for me. So Darcy has been reciting a past conversation between Ted and Danny, where Ted approaches Danny and says, I'm leaving you, and he doesn't want to discuss it. And because Darcy's then like, look, she would have got over you.
Yeah.
You didn't have to kill her. She then reveals that she knows that Ted did hire Ivan to kill off his sister. She does reveal.
Oh, okay, but that's what Ted is trying to convince her is.
That's not true.
Yeah,
because he's already had it investigated, and he says the detective will go over the evidence again.
Yeah.
Because you're clearly just you've gone gaga kind of thing. Yeah, and then unfortunately we have like a little flashback of Olin in a bathroom in the psychiatry unit or something, and he hears through a vent Ted recruiting Ivan to go and off Danny.
Which obviously then explains why he was there in that flashback scene right at the beginning.
Yes.
But this bit, again, now to me is a bit questionable, because what would the alternative have been if Olin hadn't heard that accidentally and gone to try to help her? There wouldn't have been anyone else to pin it on. So what was Ted planning after Ivan offed her? There was no scapegoat. Whereas now, obviously, there happened to be. Olin was there, so it all worked out.
Maybe he was just going to use someone else in the psychiatric unit. Just let it be. Yeah. So even when Ivan's been recruited by Ted, by the way, Ivan, the crazy psychopath, even he asked Ted, why don't you just divorce your wife? And Ted says, no, because I've literally put everything I have into this new house, and there's no way that I can have her take half away from me.
And he also says she won't get over me.
Yeah, there's no way that Danny will get over all of this. That's essentially what he says. And once he reveals this, he's like... once he reveals his reason, Ivan then says, what if the motive to kill her was sexual? Ted's like, no, quick and painless, nothing like that, okay? Just get it over and done with. Silence again, and Ivan's like, but what if things just happen to go that way? I was like, this is sick! Not sick, bro. Just this is sick. Sickening. And I loved it. Like, just, yes, this utter psychopath is just asking
So do you think
the
that then
woman's
Ted...
husband who he's about to kill, can I...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think Ted maybe freed Ivan to do his dirty work in general, and Ivan is genuinely psychologically disturbed? I mean, he has to be,
certainly
obviously.
is. Yeah,
We're just seeing that, but he's actually an orderly now, not a patient, which is again.
Well, that does that point more to the
Typical,
sickness
really,
of
isn't it?
Ivan or to Ted? Because, you know,
The system.
yeah, this whole system is wrong. But I adored that piece of dialogue when
Right.
Ivan is asking, you know, what if things went this way? I
yeah.
thought that was just so dark. You don't get that all the time. I enjoyed this because it was just, there were no jokes in this film.
But I also thought it was good because, again, it's playing off Ted's character, that whole thing of like, no, quick and painless.
Once we've had the flashback of Ivan the Terrible, which thrilled me. I was just absolutely thrilled by that dialogue. Right? We're back to Darcy and Ted having their conversation over the trapdoor. And Darcy reveals to Ted that she had planned to kill him, but instead she wants to expose him and leave him with nothing. And have his reputation like in tatters, and everything that he's worked for just go to pot. So everything that he did to get rid of his wife is all for nothing, essentially. And that's when Ted brings up the detective and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Once he places the phone in the trapdoor, we know that she picks it up and she ends up falling through the trapdoor, right, Darcy.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Ted then confronts Ivan about what Darcy knows, because Ivan has said that he had just come across her in the Oddity store, and he says that he never actually spoke to her, but it turns out that he can't trust dastardly Ivan, and he had been talking to her.
Oh, he had?
Yeah, he had been talking to her. Anyway, Ivan is now sent to the house by Ted to make sure that the deed has been done, and Ivan comes across, he looks through the trapdoor, and he sees Darcy worse for wear, like the back of her head is all...
she's definitely
She's on
the
death's
brink,
door.
yeah.
And to the point where he actually kind of... he taunts her about it.
Lets
He's like,
Ted know as well, like she's about to go.
He calls Ted and he's like, it's beyond repair.
Yeah.
Yeah, calling it
Because obviously this is supposed to be sold as an accident.
Yeah, and when Ivan taunts Darcy about it will be over soon, all of a sudden Darcy... She starts doing like these magic moves, doesn't she? Like she's going to start controlling the mannequin, which she does. She does. So Ivan's walking around now in the dark, and he's a bit freaked out himself, and he's snapping. Is it him snapping the camera as he walks around, or is the camera just by itself snapping itself?
Oh no, yeah, he comes across the camera going off in the bedroom. Yeah.
And all of a sudden the mannequin becomes animated, comes after him, and we see the mannequin grab him by both sides of the head and kind of like lift him up. We think that might be the end of Ivan. We think that, you know, Darcy's commanded the mannequin, the golem, to come and get him. But no, Ivan then awakes in the psychiatric unit.
Yeah, was this... So did Darcy maybe pass away before the moment, or did she change her mind? Why did he survive?
That's
Why
a good
didn't the
question.
golem finish
I
it?
didn't think about that, actually, because once I saw the golem grab his head, I just assumed this killed Ivan.
Yeah.
But then once it goes to the next scene, it's Ivan strapped to a bed in the psychiatric unit. I was like, interesting.
So clearly
I
the
never
golem
actually...
got paused, like, for whatever reason. He was about to crush his skull, but then it didn't happen. So Ivan's physically fine, but yeah, I was wondering why, what had caused that. So.
No, it's a good thought. Yeah, maybe that is what's happened. That would give even more kudos to the film, because it gives it a real reason. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, because I was so happy again to see Ivan in the psychiatric, not because I dislike Ivan as a character, which obviously we do, but just because I liked it in terms of the story. Like now Ivan's here, strapped up, obviously at Ted's doing. So.
Ted just snaps his fingers.
Yeah. Ted then walks into the room, reveals to him that he had him committed, asked Ivan what happened at the house, and Ivan's like, someone attacked me, but I couldn't see. But Ted knows everything. Ted's like, well, it turns out that you told the nurse a man made from wood came alive and attacked you. And Ivan's like,
that is
yes.
what happens.
And Ted's like, what do you mean, yes? And he's like, well, yeah, a wooden man came. He goes, well, there's no way that could have happened, because I went round there and I picked up the thing and I burnt it. No problem. So I burnt it to ashes. And Ivan, it's then also revealed, Ted's like, Ivan, why did you request to see a priest? And have the orderly not tell me that you said this? It's like, because I wanted to confess. I wanted to confess everything, but obviously Ted can't know this because Ted now doesn't trust Ivan. He's going to run his mouth, loose lips, sink ships. Ted can't trust Ivan anymore. So he kind of like says, you're stuck here. I'm going to get my way. Leaves the room, goes next door to where we'd previously seen the belt-strapped guy who turns out to be a cannibal. Ted releases him. And all of a sudden we just see the cannibal at the end of the bed by Ivan's feet where he starts to munch them.
Yeah. So again, because
Great. I think this is great stuff.
Ted,
Unfortunately for me,
can
it was...
I say something?
Yes, I was excited by this film.
That's fine, but because Ted had said at the end of Ivan's bed...
Said. At the end of Ivan's bed.
Yeah. That, you know, a lot of accidents can happen when things aren't watched properly at a hospital, especially like how you can easily explain away patient on patient stuff. So we know obviously what's gone on, but again, it's Ted and his dastardly, just completely selfish ways of like, well, as long as I'm safe, you can be eaten alive by this disturbed patient.
Who's more disturbed, Ted or Ivan?
Ted supposedly is, you know, a sane person, which makes him just completely psychopathic. Whereas Ivan is supposed to be, I guess he's probably more of a minion type. But there was also, did you notice there was like a whole story with Ivan having been like an altar boy or something as well? And I was wondering if that was supposed to imply something like dodgy in his past that had
anytime an altar boy is
him.
brought up in a horror movie, it normally is something dodgy. Much like last night's movie we watched for next week.
That. Yeah. So you were excited by this film. I enjoyed the film.
We're not even done yet because Yana, we see Ted driving home now, and she's got messages from Yana over the phone saying, "Stop calling me. I never want to see you again, Ted. I don't understand how you can stay in that house now that there's been at least 2 murders." And as Ted arrives home, he finds a package at his doorstep, and the sticker says it's from Oddities, right? Darcy's shop.
Even though she's
deceased. He goes to the table, opens it up, and it turns out it's the ding ding. It's the bell, which is haunted by the maniacal bellhop bellboy. So Ted obviously telling Darcy previously that doesn't believe in it, hogwash. He kind of like puts his hand above it. He's like thinking
he's clearly hesitant,
but he does it anyway because he's a man of science.
And of course, nothing happens.
Yeah, and
or does it?
Before we reveal what happens, it's another Hellraiser thing where you have this peculiar object that
it's very Pandora's box, isn't it? You should resist,
but you can't.
Yeah,
and I think it is also a point of Ted proving it to himself that I'm going to ring
that
this
he doesn't believe in any of that
absolutely. So when he rings it, he kind of like he hears about for a little while, looks around.
Yeah, you can tell there's a part of him that's like, and then he's like, "Oh, silly me."
Of course, yeah. Nothing happens, but then unfortunately, in the last frame, we have the dead bellboy, but he looks like something that should be in Ghostbusters the movie. And that's not... I love Ghostbusters. What I'm saying is it's a very different movie to Ghostbusters. That was actually... The dead bellhop was a big letdown.
That was the one thing in this film as well that I was like... That really jarred me. Because everything else, even when there were bits I was like, oh, I was like, no, but it still totally works. And I was still very intrigued as to where this film was going and how it was going to actually play out. But this bit, as you say, like from the costume to like the makeup and everything, it was too...
The lighting, everything.
It was like some teenage vampire comedy type thing.
In another film it would have been fine. The way the Oddity is, the tone of it... And what irked me even more was where the camera was, it's looking at Ted at the table and the ghost is slightly behind him.
Yeah.
Further behind Ted, there's a doorway with darkness.
Right.
You could have just had something reveal itself from the darkness, whether that's walking in, whether it's floating in, gliding in, not what we got. It was...
Or, do you know what would have been cool, actually? Because when Darcy, right at the beginning, is telling the story, it's like, oh, now when you ring it, the bellboy comes running, and the last 2 people who rang it died. So what you could have done is after the whole, like, oh, you know, silly me, nothing's going to happen, just on the final blackout had, like, running footsteps or something, as if, you know, that's the bellboy coming to get you.
Yeah, that's I think that's the best idea. Like I said, you had the doorway behind him. Like I said, you could have had just someone coming along. But I think because, like I said, just Darcy previously said the word "come running."
Yeah.
As long as you pay attention, let the audience, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt, and just have the running footsteps. Like I said, that would have been a superb ending. What we got, unfortunately, like the entire film, I was really enjoying all of it. And it just didn't. it just the last frames essentially.
It also
not
doesn't
ruined
really-
it. It just didn't. It
was
wasn't in
just a
keeping
shame.
with the rest of it.
It ended on like the weakest moment
did.
almost, because you saw the spirit of Danny
Yeah.
for flashes, and that wasn't like hokey or anything.
Absolutely.
It was purely just the way that this one, and I think it is very much to do with the fact that we see him in full like light and focus very close, and it felt a bit.
And Ghostbusters
not
is the
fitting.
correct description of that. That is something that's straight out of Ghostbusters, the movie.
Yeah.
But, away from that, though, I think something about the performances of every single character, almost all of them are completely one note, aren't they? Maybe apart from Darcy, who changes a little bit. But everyone else is very one note. But I think it works for the kind of like down-to-earth feel of the film. It's like a no-nonsense kind of thing.
Yeah, I liked the performances.
Yeah, I didn't dislike any of them. I don't think any of them were standout, and I don't think any of them are better. But I think it works for the movie. As a thing, the model, the mannequin, the golem, that is from it's a Jewish folklore thing. So these dolls actually exist and stuff like that, which is really cool. Really great idea. The guy that's made this, Damien McCarthy, I think he's done a superb job. He's got another movie called Caveat, which I haven't seen, but I probably will check it out now. But I think. Where this isn't a masterpiece or anything, but it's very original. It's very original. The tone was superb. A lot of the lighting was superb. The use of darkness, the use of shadows. The mannequin itself was superb. Ivan's dialogue was terrific. All the influences from Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2 in particular were superb. I feel like this guy's probably got something like great in him, possibly. I really, for 3 new movies...
It's also an interesting look at who
wasn't
is
let down.
actually the bad guy.
Yeah.
With question between Ted and Ivan, but also is Darcy a bad guy?
Yeah. I mean, she killed Olin. Poor Olin. And she does say, I will pay for that. She knows she's going to pay for that before she passes away.
It's that question again. For her, it's the question of, an eye for an eye.
Yeah, literally. But I got a lot of time for this film. Low budget. Not many locations and stuff. A lot of it dialogue driven. You don't see... There is gore, but it's not like over the top kind of gore. And when it comes, it's effective. And this is actually the low... If you go into like popular movie rating sites, this is the lowest rated movie out of the 3 of them. We've both put it at the top. I think that says something. Yeah, the original movie, creepy movie. Again, I wouldn't necessarily watch it again, but I'm glad I saw it. And this is, as well as like that with The Devil, this is a movie that I was interested, intrigued, excited to watch, and I wasn't let down apart from the very last moment, possibly. But I would like to see maybe a spin-off movie, just Ivan the Terrible himself. How did he get to the psychiatric unit? How was he released? That would be really cool. Yeah. So for 3 new movies, 2023 to 2024.
Probably the best batch of new ones.
The best bunch. It's actually quite, it's life-affirming, actually, that they've all been quite enjoyable.
Them, actually, no. For me, Late Night with the Devil was quite aggravating. But the other ones, I didn't leave the viewing feeling like I need to go and wash my eyes out.
Which we do a lot of the time.
So.
Yeah. 3 decent movies, 1 more than decent, certainly, I would say, in Oddity. And really enjoyed that. So kudos to everyone involved with that. And clearly now we can say that's the best Irish horror movie we've seen, because we've only seen once previous. And I've got to say, I love that movie too.
Yeah, you love that one for a very different reason, though.
Yeah, for very different reasons, yeah. We will be back next week once again with 3 newer movies as well, all well known.